spending a single minute going after some father who just dropped his kids off at daycare, is about to go work a 12-hour shift, who happens to be from Ecuador.
You said you were open to working to them to bring down crime, but you don't want to be in the immigration enforcement business. Fair distinction. But if they say, yeah, we'll do the immigration work, just control the perimeter, and when we are looking for violent, criminal, undocumented immigrants, although they probably won't use that vernacular, will you help us? What about that sweet spot?
Look, I'm not going to agree to anything right now on the spot, simply because there's not a lot of trust that's baked in. They're saying this is about murderers and rapists. And like, if it were, again, there would be very obvious mechanisms to work together. This is not what it's about. This is about terrorizing people. This is picking Somali and Latino people up off of the street that are American citizens. This is discriminating only on the basis of, are you brown, and then virtually no discrimination thereafter.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey. Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. When you try to kill our we will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Yeah, you just can't make that up. They should have been walked this bastard out a long time ago.
Jacob Fry, Doke Magalada, Minneapolis. Damaan, Sha'abka Somaliyed, Kayimid, Mogadishu, Garowe, Hargeisa, Bosaso, Bedabo, Kismayo, Wahan Rabah, In An Idin Shego, Minneapolis, Wa Magaladina, Wahad Kamid Tihin, Laf Dabarka, Magaladan Ka Digesa, Boshado, Isku, Duban, Si Casta U Madewen, Donald Trump U Su Rugo, Sharki, Minneapolis, Wa Magalo Garnesa, Wanaga, Iyo Kemaha, Ad Ledehin, Ugo Danbenti, Wahan Idin, Leahe, Eid Wanaxen, Eid Mubarak, Damantin, Wahana Idin, Rejeneya, Inad Wati, Fian, La Kadahan Dadkina, Ad J Shahin.
Somali soda is something else, I tell you. Allow me to interpret what Mr. Fry is saying. I am paid, installed treasonous trader, and I sold out America. Tick-tock, trash can. Tick-tock. You just can't make this up, man.
All right, I want to welcome in Michelle Tafoya, who spent most of her career covering the NFL from the sidelines. Now she's running for the Senate in Minnesota, where, Michelle, there's absolutely nothing going on out there in Minnesota to talk about. Good to see you again, Michelle. So,
good to see you.
Open seat in Minnesota. The primary is in August. We always hear about Minnesota nice, but that's not what we're seeing every day on TV. I'm just wondering, what do regular, hardworking Minnesotans think about what is going on right now in their state?
You know, a lot of them want to decide, are they going to stay or are they going to leave? I mean, we all feel a crisis of leadership. We feel as though these political elites, and you're showing them there, Governor Tim Walz, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry, have let us down, and they're not coming to save us. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to put my hat in the ring and try to step up and be an outsider with a backbone who will hold these people to account. But I hear from law enforcement, I hear from, Minnesotans of all stripes that they are sickened by the fraud. They are tired of the divisiveness. The chaos is just overwhelming, and they want change. And so, MichelleTafoya.com, if you can help us. Absolutely. And, Donald Trump got almost 45% of the vote in Minnesota. So this is not like a deep blue state, but I feel like 45% of the population doesn't have a voice in that state.
Oh boy, you just can't make it up, you just can't. But not looking good for Mr. Fry. Look at this old boy.
I'm proud to be Somali. to me, being Somali isn't just eating bananas with rice. It's a lot. It's like it's an interesting thing. It's very hard to describe what it means to be Somali and what it means to be American, but it's like a cultural fusion. It's kind of like the bananas and rice. You know, people don't really see, like, you know, it's you know, people don't think, oh, you can eat bananas with rice, but that's what it's like to be Somali and American. It's like that combination of banana and rice, but you're gonna get what I mean.
Do y'all get what she means? Where's Terrence? I want to pull up Terrence. Hold on, I want to pull up Terrence. Hold on, Terrence. Terrence, where's my brother Terrence at? Got to pull up Terrence. Terrence made a video yesterday that went viral, and it was comedy. And I think it should be well played on this show. Yeah, where is it at? Terrence. Let's figure. Let's see where this is at. There it is.
Hello, everyone. I'm so sad. My name is T. Omar, and I was arrested 3 days ago. 3 days ago. And they brutalized me, and they hit me in the head right there. In the car, hit in the head. Oh no. I'm so sad. And then they called me a stupid nigger, and they drove me around, and then they arrested me. They drove me around, and then in the car, they said, you are under arrest for being a nigger, and I did not know what I did wrong. And then they drove me around for hours. They shackled me. Hold on. My big tooth is falling. And then they put me in a jail cell with shackles on my legs. And then all of a sudden, they just let me go. And they say no why. They tell me no reason. They just let me go. And then he hit me in the head again. And I just don't know why.
Oh my goodness, I'm crying. Oh man, that man said my big tooth fell. Oh boy, that's funny, boy. Boy, that is funny. I'll tell you, man. But people have had enough of what's going on down in Minnesota. People want these politicians put in jail. Taxpayers have had enough. We the people have had enough, man. People want accountability, man. You know. And they are done with this clown here. Look at him. Oh, George Floyd. Look at him. The state has gone to hell, you know. And the people have had enough, man.
Minnesota Senate candidate Michelle Tafoya. Michelle, just your reaction to Fry, but also just the obliviousness to the fact that from that ringleader that they've been charged with federal crimes. And so the FACE Act, if you will, it was used against people who are peacefully protesting in front of abortion clinics, but you can't storm a church and expect not to.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just that was funny, boy. I'm still laughing at that. I got tears coming out. Oh man. Okay, let's stay locked in, family. Let's stay locked in. Let's lock in. And it's a disgrace what's going on down there in Minnesota. Yeah, this whole church, and I was so happy to see those arrests. You know, that they get that Don, that sour sweet lemon fella, that they walk that bastard out. You know. And they ought to go put him in handcuffs and go get that Tim Walz tampon fella, go put him in handcuffs too. Walk everybody out, man. Clean this state out. The state has gone to hell.
It was used against people who are peacefully protesting in front of abortion clinics, but you can't storm a church and expect not to get charged.
That's right. No matter what our state attorney general, Keith Ellison, says, this also impacts places of worship. And that's what we're talking about. And you only need to see the videos to understand what happened. She's saying we went in there, we participated. Well, then y'all stood up and started getting in the faces of kids and teenagers and the pastor and everyone else.
Y'all know that's where I drew the line, man. And I'm still sick to my stomach seeing those video footages and that show we did on this, man. And we showed y'all footages of what those people were saying to these people, man. Screaming in their face, screaming at these kids, screaming at people praying. I've had, man. Like I told you on previous show, these people cross the line, man. You know, and there needs to be immediate accountability. You know, no walls, no guardrails.
And shouting and calling them all kinds of racist names like white supremacists. It was awful. And it is a clear violation of the FACE Act. So no matter what they say, I hope there are consequences to be met because that was one of the worst things I've seen in this last couple of weeks of Minnesota.
I thought the vice president said something interesting, Michelle. He said, I'm not asking Tim Walz or Jacob Fry to agree with me on immigration. All I'm asking them to do is when we identify a criminal, help us create the circumstances where we can get that criminal in the safest, least chaotic way possible. Now, I don't think Fry and Walz are going to answer that call unless more Minnesotans let them know that it is their absolute demand that their elected officials start doing that. Do you think Minnesotans are going to start to step up and demand that?
Well, I hope so. I hope today was a turning point with J.D. Vance coming to Minnesota and making that speech, which I thought was very, very good. Listen, I've spoken with law enforcement leadership here in Minnesota, in both Minneapolis and St. Paul, and they're frustrated in one way that, look, we put life and limb on the line to arrest criminals, and then we get them detained, and then they're released. So that ICE has to then go risk life and limb to do the same errand. And so it doesn't seem efficient because it's not. And so now you're taking twice the number of risks. So not only are you endangering officers, you're endangering the citizens as well. So this whole setup is just a failure of leadership, a crisis of leadership from, I will say, Walz all the way down to Jacob Fry, to say taking the local police out of this is only their way of picking a fight with the White House and the Trump administration. It doesn't have to do with their desire for safe streets. If they wanted safe streets, they would work with this immigration customs enforcement and make it safer. So these are some of the reasons, this void of leadership, this crisis of law and order, that I'm running for Senate.
Boy, there it is, man. Truth will set you free. Minneapolis Mayor fails at slam against J.D. Vance. On the
Watch this video of Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry. Just watch, and I'm going to comment on the other side. You ready? Here you go.
Hey, J.D. Vance.
Clown.
I saw you're in town, but you never said hello. You got a couple things wrong. You called city in the entire country. We're rated as having the best park system in the entire country. Great place for recent college grads. Downtown's coming back. Guess what else? The last several years, crime's been dropping. By the way, you should love your people more than you love your ideology. Here in Minneapolis, we love our city more than we play partisan politics. That's the way to go. Let me know next time you're here.
It's funny to me to see Minneapolis man, baby mayor, mom jeans, Jacob Fry talk about these best of lists when it comes to the quality of life in Minneapolis. I've looked at those lists. I've talked about them on my weekly radio show. They're based off of almost exclusively progressive policies, redistribution of wealth policies. Nothing tangible to actually look at what it's like to live in Minneapolis and the quality of life, because guess what? It sucks. There's rampant drug use, carjackings, crime. Oh, he touts the dropping of the crime rates, but he's looking at specific metrics, not crime as a whole.
As they
Empty
always
storefronts, high-rises that used to be filled with companies and employees that now can't even sell for pennies on the dollar of what they used to be worth. Now, this is about the best that he can come up with. Jogging videos, just like Governor Tim Walz. Maybe he can take credit or at least tout the parks in Minneapolis. But speaking of parks, did you ever watch Parks and Rec? Paul Rudd, Bobby Newport running against Leslie Knope to be mayor of Pawnee. That's who Jacob Fry is. He's Bobby Newport, except he's worse because he's kind of dumber and he's also a Marxist. Check out my weekly radio show.
I tell you, man, just can't make it up. No. But hey, the man put on Hillary Clinton socks. They should have walked him out of handcuffs then. I'm just saying. Should have walked him out of handcuffs then. Hillary Clinton socks. And that's how we'll end today's show. Y'all weigh in with your thoughts. God bless you all and your family. And I will catch y'all on the next one. Peace and love, you guys.
We're gonna keep it moving because that dude is delusional. They really believe.
Always wondered why that app didn't exist. Now you can make it. Meet Split Agent. Want a custom workout plan? Make an app for that. Have a great idea at 2 a.m.? Make an app for that. Need to run an analysis? Or learn with your kids? Make an app for that too.
It's like they don't report.
This isn't just making apps. This is your imagination unleashed.
Yeah,
my first guest tonight is a former agent with Homeland Security Investigations who previously looked into fraudulent Minnesota daycares. He was doing this back in 2015. He says despite finding evidence of sham centers, even serving warrants, he says his task force was disbanded without any reason. Jeremy Christensen joining me tonight. Thanks for being here, Jeremy.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. You said these cases, you investigated them, nothing happened. They went into thin air, no prosecutions. How do you think this played out? What happened here?
Well, like I said, I was assigned to a state task force. So let me be clear. This wasn't a federal task force. This was run by the state of Minnesota, Department of Human Services. And so they ran it. My personal belief is that the powers to be higher up in the state of Minnesota just didn't want the case to move forward, and therefore it just went away. I mean, we don't go out and serve search warrants, collect tons of evidence, do surveillance, do all this. I mean, search warrants are your last line of investigation when you're getting ready to go forward with charges. We had served multiple warrants. I mean, just an immense amount of documents and so forth we seized, and then all of a sudden the task force just went away. That just does not make any sense. And again, to be clear, during this time, this was a local case and a local prosecution. It was not a federal case, even though I was assigned as a federal agent to the task force.
So do you think the safeguard broke down at the local level or the state level?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. There's no question in my mind that the powers to be higher up within the state of Minnesota shut this down. No question in my mind whatsoever.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think they did that instead of this investigation now getting worse and opening up years later?
Because there was no reason to disband that task force. I'm confident the person that was in charge of that task force was actually chastised. I think if that person ever comes forward, they may have some enlightening experiences working for the state, because that. My understanding was that things didn't go well for that person's career based on this case.
Jeremy, I have to say, this wasn't a small task force. This was 20 agents. Have you spoken with them about these investigations? Or the person that was leading that you mentioned that may have been chastised?
Not personally in the last few years. Like I said, I retired in 2022, but I am in contact with several of my colleagues within HSI yet, and they all are in agreement too with how terribly this went. And but as far as the ones that ran the task force, no. Again, they were HA's Department of Human Services investigators, and I'm trying to think if they're even law enforcement credentialed in Minnesota. I can't quite recall if they're even fully credentialed law enforcement or if they're civilian investigators with Health and Human Services. But again, the heat came down on them pretty hard. These poor investigators, I really feel for them. They really did a wonderful job working this case. But I don't even know if it ever made it to the county attorney's office for charges other than being shut down at the higher levels within the state.
Especially with millions of dollars being squandered here. Governor Tim Walz responded today. He said he spent years cracking down on fraud. Of course, he's referring cases to law enforcement shutting down high-risk programs. You just laughed. Tell me what you think came of his investigations.
That investigation, my only saving grace right now is that HSI stepping in and doing this investigation, because the state's not capable of doing this. They don't have the integrity to complete investigation, fair and impartial. I have a tremendous confidence in my HSI colleagues that are now actively working with this. I think we'll hopefully get some resolution with this, because I trust my HSI colleagues. As long as they get the good support from the U.S. Attorney's Office, I think we might see some resolution on the federal side with this. Under the state side, I absolutely see no resolution with the state of Minnesota. They don't have the forethought to handle an investigation like this and to be fair and impartial.
Do you feel vindicated here, Jeremy, now that federal authorities are getting involved, even if it's years later?
I do. And like I said, I have complete confidence in my HSI colleagues that they will make this case go as long as they get the support from the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I cannot tell you how many of my colleagues, past and present, have reached out to me since I came out about this, that are thankful that I came forward with this, because we were muzzled for years. It was just heartbreaking. It was absolutely heartbreaking to put up with this and have to deal with this and not be able to talk about this for years.
I can't imagine. Can you share with me and the viewers what you saw when you showed up to these facilities?
Yeah, it's just like they are now. Matter of fact, I'm pretty confident I've been to some of these same ones that the YouTuber posted. They were just like that, except for when we went, there weren't even people there. They were empty. We had to force entry. Wasn't a soul there. They were just absolutely completely empty. Stacks and stacks of invoices and records, but yet not a person there. Not a person there.
Do you think people will be held accountable now that it is making national headlines?
I do. Like I said, I have confidence in my HSI colleagues in Minneapolis that they're going to make this case go. There's some awesome investigators. As long as they have the support from the U.S. Attorney's Office, I suspect they're going to make some serious headway on this.
You mentioned you retired a few years ago, but with your expertise, what happens next in a case like this, Jeremy?
Well, depending how well the state cooperates, if they have evidence yet that we uncovered years ago, if they can get that evidence is going to be too stale. They're going to have to restart this investigation in a lot of ways. They're going to have to hopefully, start surveillance again, establish fresh probable cause that these centers are empty. They're going to have to get fresh documents, because you can't use documents 10 years old for search warrants and indictments. You're going to need fresh information. So they're going to have to refresh the case, which is going to be a lot of work. But hopefully they get some cooperation from the state and get all the old records from the old investigators that work this. My case is there. All my records and all my reports from when I did it are there. So there's some stuff to work on. But they basically got to refresh this case and kind of start from over and gather all new evidence, because a lot of the evidence is just simply too old to use for fresh indictments or fresh warrants.
Well, we're certainly not letting up on this investigation. We appreciate your time and insight. Jeremy Christensen, thank you again. Health and Human
Clothing brand owners want to know how to get results like this, and this? The truth is, there's no magical Facebook ad that will be your silver bullet for your online clothing store. You need a system if you're going to get consistent.
and Human Services. Is freezing all child care payments to the state as the FBI and Homeland Security conduct a sweeping investigation into taxpayer fraud. The escalation comes after a YouTuber went viral over the weekend. Because of this video, he went to various daycare centers that appeared deserted despite receiving millions of dollars in state funds. The Deputy Health Secretary is now demanding that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz conduct a comprehensive audit of all of these facilities. In a statement on social media before this development, Governor Tim Walz defended himself. He wrote this, quote, "We've spent years cracking down on fraud, referring cases to law enforcement, shutting down and auditing high-risk programs," end quote. Now, News Nation has been on this fraud story from the very beginning, and it's an issue that is not going away anytime soon. To date, Attorney General Pam Bondi says DOJ has charged 98 people in various fraud schemes in Minnesota, nearly 90% of them of Somali descent. Now, this issue gained steam in November when we reported on a nonprofit called Feeding Our Future. The DOJ says the group stole $250 million of COVID funds meant for a child nutrition program. Now we're digging deeper and looking into adult care and assisted living services. Let's get right to News Nation investigative correspondent Rich McHugh live for us on the ground in Minneapolis. Rich, good evening. You've been covering this from the very beginning. What are you learning tonight?
Hi, Hannah. Well, prosecutors here have found billions in fraud, $9 billion in fraud, and they focused on 14 different programs that fraudsters used to defraud Medicaid of those billions. We got a tip last time we were reporting here to look into another area, and thanks to our reporting, we did, and we believe we have found the 15th area, and it is assisted living. Take a look. This may look like your typical single-family home, but it bills itself as an assisted living facility, and it receives a lot of taxpayer money. Here in Minnesota, the number of people getting help in assisted living facilities is up, double the growth of other programs. But here's the kicker. The rate of payment in this assisted living space is 10 to 15 times the growth in other programs. Hi. So we pulled the data on assisted living facilities in the Minneapolis area. Minneapolis, as you might expect, has a lot, 169. St. Paul, with a population of 307,000, has 83. But Brooklyn Center, 30,000 population, has 106. And Brooklyn Park, population of 84,000, has 181, more than Minneapolis, a city 5 times its size. But this assisted living facility puts this all in perspective. It's owned by a man indicted for laundering $1 million in the Feeding Our Future scam. He's Gandhi Mohammed, now Gandhi Abdi Kadai, and his LLC owns the homes. His wife runs the assisted living facilities, and the state is continuing to pay as he awaits his trial. Okay. We went to each of them.
We're curious because the man who owns this building was indicted in the Feeding Our Future scandal. Did you know that?
No.
Don't know that?
You think what?
Do you know the Feeding Our Future scandal? The scam that was, there's all these indictments related to false, billing on feeding children.
No, that's not true.
That it's not true?
It's not true. The way I know that, no.
These assisted living facilities received over $2.3 million in state money last year alone. A Minnesota Reformer article says he has been paid a whopping $49 million since 2016. How is it possible that this person who's been indicted in Feeding Our Future also is still collecting checks from the state, running these assisted living centers with his wife?
I honestly have no idea. It seems like the most basic due diligence would have been to run a check of all the people indicted in Feeding Our Future and then make sure they're not getting paid from other state programs. And at least in this case, and I've heard perhaps in others, they didn't do that.
State Representative Kristen Robbins is the chair of the House Fraud and Oversight Committee here.
So this person owns assisted living facilities, and his wife runs the service provider part of it. So he owns the property. One of the properties was purchased with the same shell company he used to money launder in Feeding Our Future. And now that same shell company has been used to buy a new assisted living facility property. It's unconscionable that they haven't done the most basic due diligence to cross-check that Feeding Our Future defendants aren't getting additional state money.
Now, we reached out to this man and his wife and yet to hear back. We also reached out to the Department of Human Services here, and they gave us a statement. In part, it basically says, ultimately, they can't cut funding from this guy because he is simply a landlord, because his wife runs the services for these assisted living facilities, essentially Hannah passing the buck.
Yeah, Rich, when you think about the potential money that was squandered instead of helping people that need it, it really is so hard to comprehend. Excellent investigative reporting. Rich McHugh on the ground in Minnesota. Thank you.
Local and Authorities ramping up investigations into alleged social services fraud in Minnesota. Dozens of people have already been convicted or pleaded guilty, and many more are facing federal charges for diverting money meant for programs like childhood nutrition, housing services, and support for people with autism. It comes as GOP leaders seize on a viral video by YouTuber Nick Shirley. The influencer claims he uncovered $110 million in fraud tied to Minnesota child care subsidies. The video shows Shirley going around visiting daycare centers that appear empty despite receiving millions in state funds. And just moments ago, the Minnesota Department of Child Care, Youth and Families reacting to the video saying, quote, "Fraud has no place in Minnesota's public programs." The department confirms every site that was visited in Shirley's video has been visited by officials in the past 6 months. And staff are visiting facilities again today to address growing concerns over potential fraud. All this as federal agents launch their own investigations, with the DHS saying that ICE agents are on the ground today as well in the Twin Cities. The FBI and Small Business Administration also looking into those fraud claims. News Nation is tracking this fast evolving story. We'll bring you the newest details as we learn more.
We're going to welcome to the show now Republican Minnesota Speaker of the House, Lisa DeMuth, and she's also running for governor, and you've been very outspoken on this, so we wanted to bring you on. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Anna. It's good to have this conversation with you.
Are you surprised by this video and how much attention it's gotten?
I am not surprised that fraud is being uncovered here in Minnesota. What I will say, Anna, is it has gone ignored by Democrats here in the state of Minnesota for over 8 years. I'm grateful that this YouTuber, Nick Shirley, has gotten the attention that has been ignored by our mainstream media here in Minnesota. We've had other outlets, yourself and others, that have done a great job trying to shine the light. But Democrats in the state of Minnesota have either ignored the fraud that is going on or chosen to cover up. I'm not sure which one, but either way, it has gone unchecked in Minnesota under the Walz administration for far too long.
I think one of the reasons it struck such a nerve is that taxpayers, we all work for our money. We all work so hard for our money, and we see all the money going out. And then when tax season comes up in a few months, and you want to make sure it's getting into the rightful hands and be in the place where it's supposed to be. Now, News Nation has been following these fraud allegations very closely, and first reporting on the state's troubled finances back in November, when current and former federal sources confirmed funds raised by a Minnesota-based nonprofit during the pandemic never.
Calling me sucking. I don't dick suck, man. Fuck what you talking about. I don't suck. If you want to get back to the conversation, because you ain't gonna do, because you're not gonna do. Come at me with that dick sucking again. You're not gonna come at me with. Say I suck again. We can go all back right now. We can go all back right now. I'm with it,
boy. You use your paper to you would normally never be around. You an ugly boy.
So many people compliment me on my website, and they're like, "Oh, did you do this?" "Oh no, I did not do this." Let me tell you who did. Zotko did.
I've had other people that have known me for years that have looked at the end product and said, "Oh my God, this is so you."
I'm not.
If you follow me, you ugly boy. You brag on having no children out of wedlock. You got a picture? I'm a dirtbag. You got a. Don't nobody want no kids with you. Your prime years, you was a scammer. You was doing scams. Now that you older and found a way to manipulate good with you. The show, you probably was disappointed because you ain't get on the show. That's because I didn't know you and you was with dude. You see where the show at? Meet me outside one day and say, Corey, I'm trying to earn something. We good. We good. You got the clip with his wife?
Yeah, you got the wife.
Play the clip with that mark ass wife. By the way, if I get under your skin, you know where I'm at, homie. You know where I'm at. The clip with his wife. This is the funniest.
Oh, Jesus. Wow. Times it can be hard and sad and difficult because Anton has a lot of different personalities, and so you have to be a certain type of woman to deal with. Anton is very emotional. He doesn't communicate effectively. I don't think that he has killed anybody before. I think he's before. I've seen him angry before. He's just like a totally different person when he's angry.
What's the deal, YouTube? It's your boy Stingy, and I'm back with another one, just like the other one. Now, I see Corey Holcomb and Anton Daniels been going back and forth. Charleston White has something to say about it. He reacted to that whole situation, and this is what he had to say.
Okay. What's your thoughts on Antoine Daniel and Corey Holcomb almost coming to blows?
Yeah, I was mad at 5150, man. Don't know want no saying when you sucking they dick. But I don't want no saying when you kissing their ass and you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So if you saying I'm sucking it, well, you better say I'm sucking dick again. You ain't can't fit to try to govern my mouth or put a muzzle on my mouth, and you wouldn't let me. I couldn't put one on yours. That means you think you tougher than me. So you can't give me an opportunity. I don't care what. You cannot be arguing with me, going back and forth with me, and take position. As if you go attack me. Scoot closer. I'm going in attack mode. It's really no more we can talk about. Me and that Mob James stood nose to nose. Yeah, me and Mob James stood nose to nose. Homie. I texted again, Antoine. I was proud of you, homie. You stood tall. Corey was trying to big dog him. He ain't trying to big dog him.
So what's your thoughts on Adam 22 fighting Jason Love after he allowed him to have sex with his wife?
He just mad he won't f him. That's all. Adam mad, Jason won't f him. That's all. That's why he want to fight. Yeah, Adam wants some man. Yeah. Adam wants some dick bad. And he prefer Jason Love. So since Jason won't run that ruler through him, he won't tussle with him.
So you don't think that should be a fight?
Yeah, nigga, Jason Love's supposed to beat the out of him and then go beat the out his wife. I'm talking about how that motherfucker be, nigga. I'm talking about nigga the lips. Some motherfucker Benjamin Trump lips. You know them kind of lips. You got Benjamin Trump lips here. That motherfucker put lips swole.
That is, what is the relationship status with you and Woody?
We don't have a friendship status. We ruined the friendship status. He ruined it. I ruined it. Right? When I put him on stage, and we got back to, so we had already made up before then, right? Got cool back before then.
You think you're fine after a car accident until this happens. Most people don't realize that even accidents that seem minor can financially destroy you when the real costs hit weeks later. If you've been in a car accident recently, even one that seemed minor or where you were just a passenger. You need to hear this before it's too late. Here's what happens to most people. They walk away from what seems like a minor accident thinking everything is okay. Maybe a little soreness, maybe some minor damage to their car, but nothing serious. Then reality hits. The medical bills start rolling in. Your car needs more repairs than you thought. You're missing work because of
When I got in his car, he know this and I know this. I put myself in the mercy of it. And I told that nigga, you could have done anything. But I wanted to show you I trust you and you can trust me. You wouldn't do that for me. You wouldn't come you wouldn't open it. So I'm saying, I'm showing you. So for him, and this me and him on camera. So I don't know, no would have got in his car and went to his hood, his part, with his family, disrespected his daughter with his daughter there. I don't know no nigga that would have done that. I did that, nigga. So for him to get on so he wasn't doing comedy. He did a video that went viral, and he had called me, said, man, you see that video? He said, man, they think I should be doing stand-up comedy. I said, man, what you think? I said, you think you can do it? I said, you serious? He said, yeah. I said, hold on, man, one phone call, had us booked for 3 shows. So nigga, so for him to take that and try to make it like he had to come and show them, he would go set me up and he would go get me on stage and say, now what you say about my daughter? That I didn't see that energy nowhere. So for him, I texted that day when I saw the interview. I said, oh, so that's what you really think that, huh? He said, oh man, I just did that for content. So he tried to use me on me. That's when we stopped being friends that day. I never spoke to him no more. For one, I released him in my spirit. Once he forgave me, that allowed me to release him no matter what wrong I'd done for him. He been talking Christian talk. So yeah, let me test him, God. So so we ain't got no friendship. So when he did that, I saw, oh man, he really kind of spiteful toward, he really can't let it go. So I knew not to trust him ever again. So when his baby died, I said, that's because he was strapped in the fence. See, these niggas forget, they, oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord. But you also like to remind us how many people you done killed and hurt before too, indirectly. In subconsciously. You like to remind us that too. So what about those people who buried their child? Who saw their child how you see your child? Maybe this is God making the sacrifice. So yeah, nigga, so you see 1 minute, so I'm saying, I'm starting to see that he really been living life with no sympathy. This is where he come get his sympathy, because just like misery loves company, misery loves sympathy too. So yeah, nah, nigga, so when his baby died, nigga, I said to myself, nigga, that baby ain't been living long enough for you to be that sad no way. Nigga, oh, man, I hate them nigga. Them motherfucking baby ain't.
All right, let's change to this here, because you about to go.
I'm sure finna come out. Yeah.
All right, let's go.
We finna demonetize.
Yeah, no, let's go somewhere.
Way to switch up.
Yeah.
I so, to be mean too.
Yeah, don't want you to be mean. I like this Charleston here. We've been flowing.
Right.
Now, how did you link up with 607 on after all the back and forth? And how is the comedy set y'all do together?
He can't never get there on time. He got a niche. He got what he need, but he can't never get there on time. He lacked good communication skills to be able to understand. Man, this is serious. They really looking. And he understand, nigga. He really got a gift on stage. So, what's gonna be, gonna be. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's gonna be, gonna be. This was meant for me and that. He knew it. I saw it. I just didn't like it. Yeah, I just didn't like it. That sharp, homie, and he don't know what he doing. But what I like about him and what's very impressive about him is that nigga listen and then figuring out how to make this do what it's supposed to do. And you can see the results of progress. So I just had to get out my feelings and understand, nigga, this is a business. And nobody in business, whether it's entertainment or what, nobody in business can thrive and excel and elevate with their feelings attached to doing business.
So as y'all see, man, Charleston White reacted to the Anton Daniels and Corey Holcomb situation. Then on top of that, I threw in a little Woody situation and 607. So make sure y'all get in the comments and let me know y'all thoughts and opinions on this. Shout out to Terrence Gangsta Williams. Like I said, always dropping the bangers with Unc. Him and Unc, they Shaq and Kobe right now. So y'all get in the comments, let me know y'all thoughts and opinions. Like, comment, and subscribe. Turn them noti bells on all. And if you want to catch some more content, click one of these videos right here on the screen, and I'm going to catch you over there.
CRM is so slow. So slow. Thank goodness I'm using Monday CRM.
Green, this report's taking forever. What a nightmare.
You know that with Monday CRM, you can create a dashboard super fast.
I don't have time for your daydreams. I gotta present this in 30 minutes.
Monday CRM is all about doing stuff faster. You can create a dashboard with real-time data, customize it, and make it real pretty in no time.
I'm using the biggest force in the game, and Kelly over here thinks Monday CRM's better.
Okay, stay slow. That's your problem.
Wait, are you serious? Can you really customize stuff without an admin?
Sure, you can customize anything you want by yourself, not just dashboards. Change the labels, text, and colors, add any deal stage you want, create new automations to save time. Speed is the name of the game.
And let me guess, you use AI also.
AI isn't just a buzzword. I use it for so many things, like generating mass emails, summarizing meetings and action items, and prioritizing my deals.
But moving to a new CRM will take forever.
Will it?
Did you just onboard me to Monday CRM with the snap of your fingers?
That's exactly what I did. Monday CRM, do it faster.
A couple of prompts in, and I had a working checkout. No off-the-shelf system could give us what I built with Base 44.
Our brand's name is 80 Summers. It's a premium swimwear brand made to help women feel good about themselves.
We had this opportunity of opening a pop-up, and suddenly we needed a point of sale, some way to manage this entire operation. We looked around and we saw all of the options that we had that were very expensive, and I didn't know if it will fit my needs, if it will connect with my payment provider. So we went to Base 44. I started out with the basic outline, and then I built it from there, layer by layer, from setting up the dashboard through integrating APIs. When we had the complete end-to-end flow working, I was so excited. I felt like a true creator, like I made something out of nothing with my own hands. So I think the first 5 minutes in the opening day, I felt like I was going to be tested for this entire system that I've built. Just looking at the customers starting to approach the cashier, taking their phones out, and then seeing it work.
Was crazy. Everything was selling out so fast.
It felt so remarkable. I think it was the second day when I realized we're starting to sell out. And that got me really stressed out because I had to generate new inventory very fast. And inside all of this mess, me on my laptop telling Base whatever I needed to generate that order. And 3 minutes later, we had a full working sales report. I think as a business owner, it gives me a peace of mind that I can always find a solution. By morning, I will have the thing that I need. I felt like I had a really mini superpower of my own.
We really brought something good into the world, and Base made it possible.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and ladies? We got a bunch of crazy stuff to talk about today. We're going to start with Don Lemon, or not we're going to start with Don Lemon. We're going to talk about Don Lemonhead evading arrest. We got Somali Smollett. This idiot got caught lying about getting abused. Tennis players, except that black girl, these other tennis players are really making me proud, being proud Americans. And then we're going to start with the 5-year-old's detention. Of course, these idiots are lying about it, and we're going to prove them wrong. Welcome to the Officer Tatum Show.
If you don't believe that we are in a fight today, you're sleeping under a rock. If you get hit and you lay down and you cry and you fold up in the corner, definitely you will not win the fight. We show up to win. Our culture needs a lot of you young people in here to step up and stand out. There is nothing or no principality, power, division, devil can stop us when we're united. They can only get you when you're divided. When I see the American flag, I see us progressing to something that can be awesome and great. And if you don't plan on winning this, you might as well go home today.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Officer Tatum Show. Hey, I want to give a big shout out to Origin Studios, which is the studio that I'm in right now. I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it is incredible that they were able to turn this around and allow me to still do my show, because I was going to have to be in that hotel room and that was going to be ugly. All right. And I know y'all wanted to see it in a good setup, and I appreciate those guys here. Sean Kelly does his show out of here. I've been on his show a few times. You guys know him. So shout out to Origin Studios. I really appreciate it. Hey, make sure if you hadn't got Verdict yet, make sure you go on to Verdict Reserve Spirits and give it a try. At least look at the website. Check it out. See if it's something that you want. If you're a bourbon fan, this is the bourbon for you. Pre-orders right now, they'll be releasing the Verdict for shipment on the 30th. So in about a week or so, we'll be ready to ship out. Shout out to Blackline. Shout out to the Tatum Store. Y'all know how to go get all the stuff. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. But we're going to start with the second craziest story of the day. I think this is the second craziest. Now, as crazy as this is, I think it's second craziest of the day. Somali Smollett is the craziest. Maybe y'all can be the judge. Let me know which one you think is crazier. So the left is out here losing their mind, their salvation, at the same time by trying to be outraged about something that never really happened. They are pushing this agenda that this 5-year-old kid was, I think, isolated in an incident where the 5-year-old gets detained by ICE. Now, anybody with a connected brainstem knows that ain't no effing way in the world that ICE would be wasting their time going to seek out a 5-year-old to detain him. That's not even the age of culpability. Like, a 5-year-old could commit a crime and still not go to jail. All right? They go to juvie, potentially. Well, not 5. You got to be 8. I didn't want to say that because some of y'all threaten y'all kids right now, tell them they'll go to jail. If they watching it, it's really 8 years old. So don't, your parents lying to you right now. Just take that whooping and get on. But they're lying to us. And so we are going to prove the naysayers wrong and the left is wrong, and share this with your ignorant auntie them who's still watching CNN every day. Come on, let's pull up the clip. So this is some footage of the actual incident in the partial arrest. Roll the clip.
This comes after an Ecuadorian man was arrested this week who DHS says was in the country illegally. The man's 5-year-old son, Liam, was also taken into custody, at least the 4th minor detained in Minneapolis this month. DHS says the boy was abandoned by his father after fleeing the scene.
Liam and his dad are in San Antonio, Texas.
Hold on, time out. The disingenuous nature of this news report is insane to me.
Right now, as you watch this, your brain is being hijacked. You think you're in control. But there's a backdoor to your mind that 99% of people don't know exists. In 1914, a discovery was made that should have stayed buried. The hidden switches that control human behavior were exposed. For over a century, a select few have used this knowledge to manipulate millions. They've made women smoke, nations fight, and complete strangers stampede to buy things that they never even wanted. The man who started it all wrote, "We are governed, our minds molded, our ideas suggested by men we have never heard of." He called it the engineering of consent. And it's being used on you right now, every day. That ad that read your mind, that video that made you buy, that post that made you furious, it's the same playbook, same psychological trigger, same invisible string. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover the exact system that's been hidden for over 100 years. The same dark psychology that built empires, toppled governments, and created billionaires. The question is, do you want to remain the puppet or learn to become the puppet master?
Why in the would they say that a 5-year-old is taken into custody? They know the ramifications and implications of saying taken into custody. The kid is not taken into custody. You use taken into custody simultaneously with taking a criminal into custody. So that criminalizes what they potentially had done with the kid. They know better than to do this. This is the 4th minor detained. He's not detained. He's a child. He's not implicated at all in a criminal activity. His ignorant daddy decided to flee and left his kid. Why y'all not talking about daddy fleeing and leaving his kid behind? And then he leaves his kid behind. They take the kid to a safe facility. Why can't they articulate that they had, like, as if the ICE, in this case, my opinion, the ICE agents are heroes. They're taking a child that's abandoned out of the snow into their possession to get him into a safe environment because his daddy don't give a about him. But why they got to frame that he's taken into custody as if he's a part of the arrest? These people are not going to heaven with the stuff they're doing. Go ahead. Roll the clip. Oh, that's just the picture. The clip was finished. I thought it was a little more. I kind of cut it off. Was there a little bit more on that clip? Okay, if it was a little more on that last clip, just put it back in and play it. If I missed the very end of that clip. Roll it.
Month. DHS says the boy was abandoned by his father after fleeing the scene.
Liam and his dad are in San Antonio, Texas at the Dilley facility.
Now, where is mama at? Where's aunties at? That's the thing that's crazy to me is that the real story should be, why would you have your kid in this situation? Now, we got a couple of people who are witnesses on the scene. We got J.D. Vance giving commentary, and Amala, who's one of my favorite content creators, she gave a statement about it as well, and I thought it was very relevant. And we have a couple more people commenting on this, but I want to start with someone who was at the scene, a witness at the scene. I think we have that clip. Whoa. Go ahead, roll it.
That. You offered to take him and you saw ICE agents drive away with
Yes.
the 5-year-old boy.
Yes. And then I held another community member in their front yard sobbing.
Liam's
Did they
mother
say
was
anything to
inside
you?
the house.
Did they, like, when you asked them why they were doing that, did they say anything, talk to you? So, I don't remember if they did say anything back to me. There was a lot of yelling and there was a lot of people, making a commotion. And so all I can speak to is the part that specifically that I heard and my response
Sorry
to
to
that.
clarify, Liam's mother was inside the house.
I believe so, yes.
Did she say she wanted her child? Was she clearly, obviously saying, just leave him with me?
Again, I was not at that door when that was, as they were putting him in the vehicle and leaving.
Question for Mark. DHS officials have said that the father abandoned this child. How does that differ from what your understanding is? You said that they were being held at Dilley. What is your understanding of the conditions in which they're being held? Do you know if Adrian Conejo Arias has any sort of criminal record to speak of? I understand you were saying he was in the asylum process.
Sure, I'll take those in reverse order. To my knowledge, I looked through the Minnesota criminal database and found nothing. So no, there's no crimes here that the family has ever done.
Time out. Quit conflating before I jump through this screen on you. If you're in this country illegally, it's a crime. I don't know how many times we got to say this to people. If you come into this country without going through a port of entry, it is a crime. If you're in this country and you supposed to be at a detention or a I don't know what they call it, asylum hearing, and you don't show up, you're ordered to be deported. I don't know what we're talking about here. You don't necessarily have to commit a crime in order for them to execute a deportation. What are we talking about? If the person is in the country illegally and there's a deportation order by a judge, then that means you got to go. You don't get to say, well, I need to commit a crime first before you can execute a deportation order. Like, no. You knew you came here illegally, and you got to go home and take your kids with you. And these idiots trying to lie and say, well, mama was in the house. I wanted to keep the kid. They cannot give somebody kid to some random stranger because you got white guilt. They're not gonna get a kid to a stranger. And I bet you $1 million, I put my life on it. If a lady in the house was verifiably the child's mom, they would have left the kid with the mom. They don't want to deal with having a kid in the back of a car, having to transport them. That's more paperwork. But what is probably being conflated is that, no, there was another female in the house that wasn't his mama. The only parent verifiably was his dad, and so therefore the child has to stay with their parent. Okay. And y'all don't want to separate families. But he went with his daddy. Okay. Let's get to J.D. Vance. Roll the clip.
Well, I'm proud of the fact that we're standing behind law enforcement, and I'm proud of the fact that...
Did we finish that last clip? Did the lawyer have something additional to say? Because I feel like I cut him off. If he does, put the clip back in, finish that. If he don't, let's just finish J.D. Vance's clip.
The clip was finished, Brandon.
All right, J.D. Vance, go for it.
We're enforcing the country's laws. But, you asked a question about this 5-year-old kid. I actually saw this terrible story while I was coming to Minneapolis. We just left Toledo, Ohio this morning for an economic messaging event. And I see this story, and I'm a father of a 5-year-old, actually, a 5-year-old little boy. And I think to myself, oh, my God, this is terrible. How did we arrest a 5-year-old? Well, I do a little bit more follow-up research. And what I find is that the 5-year-old was not arrested, that his dad was an illegal alien. And then when they went to arrest his illegal alien father, the father ran. So the story is that ICE detained a 5-year-old. Well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death? Are they not supposed to arrest an illegal alien in the United States of America? If the argument is that you can't arrest people who have violated our laws because they have children, then every single parent is going to be completely given immunity from ever being the subject of law enforcement. That doesn't make any sense. No one thinks that makes any sense. Now, there's so many of these cases like that where if you just understand the context, there have been a number of situations that I've looked into personally where I say, wait a second, we don't want ICE arresting American citizens. They're supposed to be enforcing the immigration laws against illegal aliens. So then I look into it and I find out that the American citizen who was arrested took a swing at an ICE officer. You can't have that happen. And of course they have to defend themselves. And of course they have the right to detain somebody who assaults a law enforcement officer. Now, this is my point. Do we want these things to happen? Do we want these arrests to be so chaotic? No, we don't. These guys want it least of all. But if we had a little cooperation from local and from local and state officials, I think the chaos would go way down in this community.
Somebody give him a round of applause. You know what's funny is that how simple is this? There's a law in the book. If you don't like the law, change the law. Since you're not going to change the law, let's enforce the law. And then once we enforce the law, we need to enforce it consistent with all the other laws that we enforce. Because you guys don't want to enforce that law, but you want to enforce this law. You idiots don't want people who are pedophiles to get arrested because they're illegal. I hope to see y'all burning one day. Okay, let's get to the clip of Representative Angie Craig, because I think this lady was outraged over this. Roll the clip real quick. Angie Craig.
So now ICE is using a 5-year-old boy. A 5-year-old boy. They took him and used him to lure his father out. And now they've detained them both. The family doesn't know where they are. This is the worst of the damn worst.
Time out. Time out. You dumb horchata. How are you saying that the family don't know where he at? Where you think he at? He's in one or two places. Detained by the government or at the country in which y'all left and came over here from. It's only two things. And if you miss him and you're hurting because, then go back with him. Y'all could have got in the car too and left. Give me an effing break. These people are so stupid. They on here saying this stuff, and this lady lying, and she's a representative. She should be, what do they call it? Censured. Roll the clip.
Is not humanity in Minnesota, folks. If you
Fake
can
outrage.
look at this 5-year-old and actually with a straight face still support and be silent in the face of what the Trump administration and Kristi Noem is doing, I just can't even believe this is America. I will not vote for a damn penny to Kristi Noem or ICE in this Congress. This is a time where we should all be outraged. If this doesn't pierce through your humanity as a Republican member of Congress, you can't speak out about this, then you've got no humanity left.
I hope she go to hell. I'm just going to say it. I hope she go to hell, and I want to have an option. I want to be able to open a window and watch her burning in there. You got to be a devil to say something like this. This lady knows that she's full of crap. She knows that she's lying. She knows that ICE isn't arresting and detaining little children. You dumb bee. How about you take your narrow behind over and do a ride along with ICE and see what they actually are doing. Talk to somebody at ICE and see what the protocols are. But you don't want to do that. You want to turn the country into a cesspool of outrage because that benefits you politically. You know doggone well they didn't detain a 5-year-old. I hope they burn in hell. I just really do. I know I sound mean, but like, I hate what these people are doing in our country. We got a couple other clips. I'm going to skip Amala real quick. We could put her in post-production. Let's go with some other people on here. Trace McLaughlin. That's who it is? Tracy. Roll the clip.
And this is a horrific smear that we're seeing the mainstream media and politicians on the left, including Kamala Harris, take and run with. The facts are actually that this little boy was abandoned by his own father. His own father was being approached by ICE agents when he ran and abandoned the child. Our law enforcement in these frigid temperatures stayed with the child, tried to bring him into custody with the mother, who actually would not take the child into custody, which is so sad, so horrific. Our law enforcement officers actually were taking care of the child, brought him to McDonald's, were playing his favorite music to really calm him down. This is Asmark. There's major riots forming around our law enforcement officers. That is horrendous that the child is having to face this, but our law enforcement officers were taking care of him, and he's now reunited with his father in a federal processing facility.
That's good. Thank you, young lady, for saying that. His mama refused to take him. These dumb white liberals out there virtue signaling, lying to the public. All right, well, speaking of lies, let's go to Somali Smollett, real quick. And then we'll put those other clips for you guys in post-production. I think Nick can hear me. Just add the clip of the update from the Border Patrol leader and some other stuff. We'll put that in post-production if you guys want to see it when we upload some videos later. But I want to get to Somali Smollett. This dumb jihad just lied about her involvement with ICE and said she got abused when this hamburger heifer knows she didn't get abused by nobody. Only person abusing her is probably her husband or a cousin who probably is also her husband. All right, let's get to the clips. Let's roll it. This is a press conference of what she said in this fake abuse claim. Roll the clip.
And I was waiting for these two men to hold the door for me. And I told them, hey, can you hold the door for me? And I walked right in the middle. And when I was in the middle, ICE came. They came out of their cars. They asked me to see my ID. And while they were asking me to see the ID, they just decided it was nice to be racist and say really nasty things to me. And that man, he called me the N-word, and he called me that, and then he arrested me. They arrested me. It was multiple people. They used a lot of force to arrest me. I actually got a scab that was healing while I was in jail. But they pushed me hard. They used a lot of violence. My body still hurts. I got a concussion. It's really hard for me to speak because of that concussion. They were just using a lot of force to arrest me, and I was screaming. I was crying. I was so scared. I've never been arrested in my life. I don't have a criminal record. I have a clean record.
Yet.
It was just, and then that detainment, I was detained. I was literal cuffs were put on my legs, cuffs on my hands, and I was actually detained with a Native American woman. And God bless her heart, she went through a lot too. She was also detained by ICE, and she was also a U.S. citizen, and like me. And she had gashes on her face. They shattered her windows. She had blood on her jeans, her corduroy jeans, and she was crying because she was so scared because she was with her dog. She was so scared that her dog got hurt. She was so scared for her life. We were both crying together. We were holding each other tight. And I'll never forget.
Real quick. How many seconds I got left on this thing? You could put it in the chat. You could tell when somebody's lying is when they're telling a truthful statement. They tend to look at the camera or in this direction, right? They do this. You can see at the beginning of what she was saying, when she was talking about her detention, she's looking here. When she starts to lie, she glances down like this. Because she's gathering fake information. It didn't happen down here. This is reaching. I'm thinking of my story. Up here is thinking. When you're recalling information, you recall it from this angle. When somebody look up and they're recalling information. Down here, these people are making up stuff. Up here, it's her having the confidence to tell you what really happened. And all you gotta do is look at these people's body language. Easy, you can tell she's lying. And then it doesn't matter if a person is Native American. Who gives a flying flip? If you are and these people have committed crimes, because just because you are detained by ICE don't mean that you didn't commit a crime. That means that if you are obstructing the execution of an arrest against a real illegal alien, you're still going to get detained by ICE because you're breaking the law, and that's a federal law that you violated, and they're going to arrest you on federal charges. They're a federal law enforcement agency. So you don't break the federal law, and just because you're not illegal, you can't be detained. So this idiot probably fought them. They had to knock her window out and all this other stuff. And they know it. They know what happened. How many seconds? I got 10 seconds left. Let's finish this clip, and then we're going to show the video. I think we got the video footage of the actual arrest to prove that this lady is full of sugar honey iced tea. Roll the clip.
The fear that we both felt in our hearts that day.
Where the tears at?
And I'm so sorry if I'm getting a little emotional, but
You're not emotional. You're faking. You done enough because she finna get exposed. Lady, you got a Band-Aid on your head somebody got from Walmart or Walgreens. Where's the mark? Where is the injury to this to get a Band-Aid that look like that on your forehead? If you got bludgeoned, you're going to have bruising, black eye, something. But look at the detention. And let's see if she got beat up like she said she did with the mark on her forehead. Roll the clip.
I'm 23 years old from St. Paul, and I encountered
Look like she spit on
ICE.
somebody.
I was detained, or let me rephrase it as I was kidnapped by ICE. I was kidnapped from ICE from my home. They came here, right there where I'm pointing at, and they came here, were following two men, and while they were following two men, they came and stopped at this exact area near the office.
Her hijab is still on. Lady, your burqa still on. They ain't whoop you that bad. Where you get the Jingasso at if you got the burqa on top of it? Well, how you get a mark right here? You ain't getting no mark. You people lying. I hope she go to jail. Kristi Noem.
Reach future fans, A&Rs, and beyond. Introducing Buzzing, fan-powered playlists based on what real fans are playing, replaying, and playlisting in indie, rock, metal, pop, hip-hop, rap, R&B, and electronic. Subscribe to Artists or Artist Pro to earn your spot on Buzzing. Because in music, it all starts on SoundCloud.
Taxes was feeling unwelcome. Now Taxes is an open door to new TurboTax stores. Meet our experts. They do your taxes, so you can walk out with confidence. Now this is Taxes.
You watching this? Whoever else. She need to go to jail. She made a false report against a federal agent, or that could be a crime, or false reporting in general, which could be also obstructing an investigation by making a false report. It's probably a myriad of different crimes she committed. And then, like, these people should get sued civilly. Like, she's accusing these men and making them go through unduly, I would say, stress when she just made up an entire lie. How is she not held accountable for that? The state has to pay legal fees to prove that this woman is wrong, either by internal affairs investigations or whatever else. She need to be paying for that. In the state of Arizona, we got a dumb motorist law. When it's raining and there's a wash and they got the sign that says don't enter when there's water flow, and you go in there and they have to rescue you, you got to pay for it out of your pocket. When you go to Camelback Mountain in the desert because you ignorant and it's 117 degrees and they say don't hike in the desert at 117 degrees and you do it anyway and they have to extract you, they make you pay for it. When you lie like this on federal agents, you should have to pay for it. Let's get to John Lemon Juice real quick. And you know he ain't gonna make it to heaven either. Lying, talking about he a Christian with a man on top of his back every night. All right, let's go to Minnesota. So here's a couple updates. Let me say this. Don Lemon was going to be arrested. He was going to be arrested. But the federal judge decided not to sign off on the arrest warrant. And therefore, they didn't arrest him. They should arrest Don Lemon. Now, let me explain this before I get to the context. And I'm going to try to do this fast because I only got 10 minutes. I don't think Don Lemon right now should be arrested on federal charges because the probable cause, the burden of proof is a lot higher than on the state charges that Stevie Wonder can see he violated. Entering and remaining on private property after reasonable request to leave, that's trespassing. That's a crime, misdemeanor crime. If you are creating or a part of disorderly conduct, which he was, that is also a crime. At least you got two crimes right there. You got two crimes. So on a state level, he should be arrested on those crimes. Federally, they need to do an investigation and find out if there was correspondence between Don Lemon in preparation of this event. So if it was premeditated by Don Lemon knowing that they were going to go and violate people's rights, then Don Lemon should be also included in the federal charges. Let's go to Fox News clip 100 and let's roll it.
Those three individuals who were arrested were some of the organizers of that anti-ICE protest at the church. But Fox News has learned that a federal magistrate judge shot down multiple arrest warrants that the Justice Department tried to get for other individuals who were also involved in that protest, including former CNN anchor Don Lemon. Sources confirmed to Fox the magistrate judge who blocked the warrants is named Douglas Miko, and his wife works as an assistant attorney general in Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison's office. A source close to U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi tells Fox the AG is enraged at the magistrate judge's decision and says DOJ is still pursuing charges against additional individuals related to that protest. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey and other Democratic leaders argue these prosecutions and the massive immigration enforcement operation are purely political theater.
All right, next clip, 101.
Rejecting the charges against Don Lemon smells fishy to me, and we may actually learn more about the magistrate's motivations, his bias, his conflict of interest, as Kevin pointed out. You know, legally, the magistrate would have to have decided that these prosecutors did not meet the standard of probable cause. But, you know, just personally disagreeing with the wisdom or fairness of bringing the case, that's not a valid ground for overriding the charging decision. So, Sean, I thoroughly expect the DOJ to do one of two things here: either bypass the magistrate by going directly to a grand jury for an indictment against Don Lemon, or go to a real district court judge, because, you know, a magistrate is really just a ministerial assistant. You know, he handles misdemeanors and warrants and empties the trash cans.
All right, let's go to clip 102, and that's Don Lemon Juice running his mouth on TikTok. Roll the clip.
Look, I stand proud and I stand tall. This is not a victory lap for me because it's not over. They're going to try again, and they're going to try again. And guess what? Here I am. Keep trying. That's not going to stop me from being a journalist. You're not going to diminish my voice. Go ahead, make me into the new Jimmy Kimmel if you want. Because I'm not going anywhere, and I'm going to believe the same things whether you want to, whatever. None of this is about justice. This is about power, and it's about people who are incompetent. When they want to become dictators or authoritarians and take over a country, what do? The first thing they do is get rid of the media. They shut off the radio. They have state-run TV. They have state-run radio. They have state-run newspapers. That's what's happening.
Time out. I think that gay getting in his brain. I don't know what it is. That other man, DNA is getting in your brain. And people that know, you know what I'm talking about. So what are you talking about, bro? If we were living in a dictatorship, or somehow Donald Trump was trying to establish a totalitarian government, you wouldn't even be on here talking like this. You wouldn't be able to talk. They're going to take over the radios. What effort has been put forward to control the radios? Only Democrats do that. What effort has been put forward to take over television? Podcasters. Only Democrats did that. When we didn't toe the line in 2020, they want to deplatform you and do all that old crazy stuff. I remember it. We couldn't talk about abortion online or they'll deplatform you. We couldn't talk about COVID online, they deplatform you. You couldn't even be a doctor giving your scientific evidence to prove your thesis or prove your hypothesis about anything related to COVID, or they'll deplatform you. Oh, take your license away. You guys were doing that. Okay. Last clip from I bet his daddy is not proud of him. Okay, last clip. Roll it.
Hello, everyone. Sheriff Grady Judd here. I'm standing in a house of worship, and I think about last weekend in St. Paul, Minnesota, where people who came to worship were attacked. They were attacked by rioters. The service was disrupted. They cut at the very fabric of this great United States of America. We settled this country so many years ago so we could worship free the way we wanted to in whatever house of worship we chose. That attack is unacceptable. I can assure you that had that attack been in this community, every one of those rioters would be in jail today. That's where the federal government could have found them, on state charges, locked up. And I pray it's that same way all across the United States of America. Enough is enough. Let's join together for the good of the United States of America. Let's worship the way we want to, and let's everyone renounce the horribleness of last Sunday in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate him saying that. You know what's crazy is that it's just common sense. Like, we're gonna look back on this and be like, what in the flying flip was people even talking about? It's basic principles that we've lived by for hundreds of years. All right, let's get to this last clip. It's a throwback clip of Don Lemon Juice. I guess he's trying to lecture Elon Musk. Roll the clip.
Elon, let's start with this. You're the richest man in the world. You own a major social media platform. You're influencing space, AI, energy, and now even politics. Do you think it's healthy or even democratic for one unelected billionaire to have this much power over public discourse and global infrastructure?
Power? Done. I built things people choose to use. No one elected me, and no one's forced to buy a Tesla, use X, or launch a satellite with SpaceX. That's called the free market. The real problem is when unelected journalists push narratives without accountability, shaping minds with zero innovation, zero risk, and zero skin in the game. So if you're worried about power with no checks, maybe look in the mirror.
If you're a producer who hates AI, this plugin might change your mind. This is reimagining Code Producer. You can take any sample you find and flip it into infinite one-of-a-kind variations that are unique to you. Here's how it works. Just open up your DAW and drop in the Code Producer plugin from Output. It listens to your track and finds samples that match your vibe, key, and rhythm. Just search for a sample you're looking for, like Dreamy Synth.
Now, let me, I don't know if we was able to verify this. Was that AI or was that straight? Because I have never heard Elon Musk talk that straight, clean, without breaks. So maybe they modified it. But regardless of what it is, that was true. These fake journalist weirdos are out here trying to tell us how we should live. These people are not journalists. These people are not doing what's right. They're liars. They're deceptive. I have never once in my life, you can call me a journalist, I've never once in my life said, I'm going to go and report on this and lie because it benefits my side. Look, my side got to do it on their own. Look, if you cutting up, you cutting up. Donald Trump be cutting up sometimes. More than not, he do the right thing. But when he cutting up, I got to say he cutting up. It don't hurt me. There ain't nobody paying my bills. You ain't finna make me $100 million in my bank account every month. And maybe you cutting up ain't as bad to me. But you ain't giving me, y'all ain't doing nothing for me. I ain't gotta do nothing but keep it real and tell the truth and shame the devil. And even with that, like if you do that, you success will follow you. I just gotta say this. I got 1 more minute left. Success will follow you if you do the right thing. And I know a lot of people, they see money and green and they see clicks in the short term and they go, oh, I'm gonna go for that story. I'm gonna say this even though I don't believe it because it's clicks. I can really take advantage of this. When in reality, if you keep it real, you stay authentic, you just be real about what you're doing, you will be popular. Ask me how I know. I don't do the clickbaity. I don't do my stories like this. Where's the wind blowing? That's the story I want to do today. I don't do stuff like that. I do things that I'm passionate about, and people can tell when they watch me on television. And you know, I have been able to be incredibly successful. You don't have to sell your soul for clicks. And these people like Don Lemon are selling their souls. All right, I got to get out of here. I want to make sure I tell you guys before I get out of here, make sure you follow me on Substack if you like to see the written format. I write articles based on some of my most popular videos. So people that love to read, you can read it there. Follow me on every social media platform at The Officer Tatum. You can follow me on the podcast network. I think people forget I have a podcast. My YouTube is so much more popular than my podcast. If you like to listen on podcasts when you're working out, riding in the car, if you're a truck driver, you're riding over the road, you want to hear B. Tatum, keep it 100. Make sure you follow The Officer Tatum Show on the podcast network. Also, Freedom Chat. Follow me on the Freedom Chat for my Freedom Chat people that enjoy communicating with me on Freedom Chat. I try to get back to everybody on Freedom Chat because it's not a million people following me on Freedom Chat. So I'm able to get to them. And also, I want to give a shout out to Verdict. In my opinion, the best bourbon I've ever tried. And make sure that if you go to the website, you have to be 21 and over. And if you're going to purchase bourbon from me or anywhere else, be responsible.
We are back with another video.
I just said that. I just answered your question. Now, what else do you want to talk about?
What do you want to talk about, Don?
The subjects that you invited me on to discuss, Piers.
I thought that included free speech.
No,
Say
okay,
that.
Piers, let me just say this. I'm going to answer your question, but just so the audience.
Save 40% by consolidating your IT with Infinitely Virtual. We provide enterprise-grade IT solutions tailored to your business and budget.
I'm going to answer your question, but just so the audience knows, and I hope you don't cut this out, when I ask you what subjects you wanted to talk about, you know what you said to me? You said, I want to talk to you about, not once did you mention that we were going to talk about CNN or whatever. So, and had I known that, I probably wouldn't have accepted this interview.
You sound very bitter, Dom.
Piers, I'm not enraged. I'm not enraged at all.
You got me, Piers.
Come on.
Come on. I don't know what you mean.
Come on. Let's do something that's more productive than this.
Well, look, you know.
Do I object to what?
Clickbaiting headlines.
Clinton Jaws. Don Lemon. I'm not a fan. He's on Piers Morgan. Piers rips him a new one. I loved it. Don's been around he's been on every corner, every street in the past 10 days, making a fool out of himself. Let's watch.
The thing that is so obvious about it, and I think this is so disgusting, is that you don't really care. You don't really care about Charlie Kirk. What you care is that this is a moment that you can use for clicks.
Problem is we do care.
Don, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you? Good to see you, Piers.
We were both
introduction, but it's great to see you.
We were both greatly lamented ex-CNN anchors. In fact, we shared an office. You took my old office. I feel like we've got a lot in history together. Your reaction to Charlie Kirk's murder has stirred up a lot of anger on people on the right, particularly the clip we just heard where you talk about them not really caring about what happened to him and just reacting for clicks, crying for clicks and so on. Do you not think that what you said there was insensitive?
No, I don't. I'm surprised because I was actually taking up for Charlie Kirk. I make up my mind and I decide on issues based on what I believe in and based on facts.
Do you agree?
But I don't believe in canceling people.
Right.
I think there's a lot of cancellation going on the right now, and I'm not comfortable with it.
Do you feel
I wasn't comfortable with it on the left either.
Right. Do you feel you were a victim of cancel culture at CNN?
I probably. I don't think. I look at everything as an opportunity. Probably yes. I'm sure that I was a victim of cancel culture, but I would say mostly on the right for cancel culture.
For those who don't know what I'm talking about, this is what led to you leaving CNN. Let's take a look at the clip.
She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s. I don't necessarily.
40s. Oh, I got another.
I'm not saying
decade.
I agree with that. So I think she has to be careful about saying that.
When you watch that, Don, I happened to be watching that live, and I was like, "Whoa, what did you just say?" I mean, if you had a do-over, would you say that again? I mean, what led you to say that?
Okay, Piers, let me just say this. I'm going to answer your question, but just so the audience knows, and I hope you don't cut this out. When I asked you what subjects you wanted to talk about, you know what you said to me? You said, I want to talk to you about freedom of speech in America and the response to Charlie Kirk's death. Not once did you mention that we were going to talk about CNN or whatever. So, and had I known that, I probably wouldn't have accepted this interview. You have invited me on many times, and I tell you, Piers, I know you. I would come on your show, but I don't do panels. And so when you said I'm not going to be involved in a panel, I agreed to come on your show. But I thought you would also stick by the subjects that you told me that you were going to talk about.
Just to be clear,
rather than try to ambush me with something.
Just to be clear, you and I haven't. Well, Don, just to be clear, you and I haven't had any conversation about your appearance here. You're talking about my team talking to you.
Yeah, no, and I saw you, Piers, in a restaurant, and I said, hey, Piers, good to see you. I would come on your show, but I don't do panels.
Right.
And I said the same thing to your bookers.
There's only one of you,
And so when
Don.
I asked you, right. Okay, and so, yes, and I said that's why I agreed to do it. But when you asked me, or when your team asked me what subjects, and I asked them 2 or 3 times, I have the text messages, what do you want to cover? Not once was CNN mentioned. So I don't appreciate being ambushed. But let me answer your question
Hang on one second. No, Don, hang on 1 second. Let's just be crystal clear about what's just happened. You brought up the subject of cancel culture. I asked you, did you feel your departure from CNN was an example of that? And you answered the question. And I think it's perfectly reasonable.
And I answered the question.
Perfectly reasonable in that if you'd said to me, I don't want to talk about it, fine. No, but hang on, no, so sorry. You said what you're going to say. By the way, we don't.
Disingenuous.
Don, we don't edit.
I don't like arguing like this. I'm not going to get into an argument with you. Piers, I think that's completely disingenuous. And I think anyone watching this
What are you talking about?
And so if you will let me, if you will allow me, please
What are you
stop
talking
interrupting
about?
Me, okay? Did you invite me here to interrupt me, or are you going to let me
I think you're
answer
being
the
a complete dick, if I'm honest with you.
Okay.
I do.
Well, that's very kind and respectful of you.
It wasn't intended to be kind or respectful.
I don't like the ad hominem attacks. I could respond in kind.
You can
but
say
I
what you
won't
like about me. I don't care.
I think that I'm above that. I'm not going to do that, Piers. That's not who I am.
I don't understand why you're playing the victim card when you yourself mentioned cancel culture.
Because Piers. Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. Let me do this.
What are you going to do? Read out my team's messages to you?
Piers? It should be embarrassing. Yeah, I can read out the team messages to you because I just think it's completely unfair, and you know that. I'm prepared to answer your question, and then I'm going to move on. I told you I'm prepared to talk about Charlie Kirk's death, the response to it, and cancel culture, and and freedom of the press.
So
and freedom of speech.
You were prepared to talk about cancel culture, or you weren't?
Unless you... No. I'm not prepared,
you're not
to, talk,
prepared to
I
talk
can
about
talk about cancel culture. But that has, oh my God, Piers, could you stop interrupting me?
Not really. You're kind of exhausting me. It's ridiculous. Why would you react this way to a perfectly normal... Obviously, if you mention cancel culture, obviously it's rational and logical that I would ask you whether you felt what happened to you at CNN was that. I played the clip, and then you throw a hissy fit.
I've given you a moment, enough. I've given you your moment.
I don't want a moment.
It's going to go viral, so
I don't want a moment,
yes, you
Don.
do. Otherwise, you wouldn't do this. Otherwise, you would be a respectable journalist and host, and you would let
He does not want this going viral.
And
I don't think I'll take lectures on being a respectful journalist
because
from
you want a
Don.
moment. Oh my gosh, Piers.
I won't.
I can't even hear because there's a delay and you keep talking. And what do you want me to do? Like rip the earpiece out in the mic and run off so you have a moment?
No, I don't care.
Are you
Yeah,
letting me answer
like.
the question? Are you just going to keep pillaring me with questions?
Then I would have an easy title.
I don't know why you've gone on this weird rant. I don't understand any of it. Why have you done this weird reaction? I simply asked you about whether you felt your departure from CNN was, in your eyes, an example of cancel culture. I played the clip,
Piers,
and
you're
I then
embarrassing
said,
yourself,
I then
and I
said,
tried
when you
to,
watch it back, do you
Piers,
really understand what you were saying?
This is why I don't do this, but you're embarrassing yourself, Piers.
No,
Actually, you might be embarrassing yourself, Don.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Don't do this to me, Piers.
Yeah, you might be. Have you thought of that?
Okay.
You're a journalist. You don't want to talk about a story, a massive story that involved you?
Oh, he wants to leave so bad.
Piers,
Of course
can
you
we
don't.
move on? You can let me answer the question, and then we can talk about the things that you invited me on to
Why
talk
didn't you just
about.
answer the question to start with?
And we've gotten so far away from what you wanted me to answer that we're off into La La Land. So let me say something about that. The clip that you played had nothing to do with me leaving CNN, okay? And unless you know something that I don't know about me leaving CNN, then you should tell me about it. It had nothing to do. I worked there for months after that. So that had nothing to do with it. And so, I forget the other thing that you were asking me about in that clip. But
I asked you when you watched the clip
let's
back,
move on.
if you could explain what was going through your mind, that's all.
Thank you. I think the key phrases in that clip, if you want to be honest, and I want you to listen to it, is that I'm not saying that I believe that. That's not according to me. What I was speaking for there is how society treats women. And someone like Nikki Haley should know women have been discriminated against for centuries. She should be more careful than to say something that discriminates against older people. That's it. That is not the reason that I was let go from CNN. And so, again, unless you know something, then, go ahead and tell me.
As you know, it was widely reported that was. So what was the reason?
Don't believe everything you read.
What was the reason?
Yeah, why?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Oh, so it might be the reason.
No.
But it all happened after that incident. You know that.
Yeah. Well, Piers, everything happens after something. I don't understand what your point is.
Well, the point is, my point is, you just said that wasn't the reason why you got fired, and I haven't seen this.
I think it's quite newsworthy. If you say it had nothing to do with that, then it'll raise the obvious question.
I don't think it's newsworthy, Piers. That was 3 years ago.
It's fun to talk about.
Right. It's not newsworthy. News means something that's new. This isn't new.
Right.
30 years That was 3 years ago. That's
okay.
all litigated. If you want to find out about it, you are free to be able to read the interviews that I read. You're free to read the statement that perhaps your folks should pull up the statement when I left CNN, and that can explain to you what happened. So this is nothing new.
You just told me you've no idea why you were let go.
I'm doing something completely different, and so that's that.
Yeah, you just said you've no idea why they got rid of you.
What statement?
I did.
So how do you know it wasn't to do with the clip we just played?
I just said that. I just answered your question. Now, what else do you want to talk about?
What do you want to talk about, Dom?
We want to know why you ran in that church like that.
Having money in the markets without protection is like being in the sun without shades, right? The wealthy, however, they have...
The subjects that you invited me on to discuss, Piers.
I thought that included free speech and everything around that.
I know you're loving this viral moment. I just think that you're embarrassing yourself.
I don't think you understand what me at all. I've got nothing against you at all. Never have had. I was perfectly...
Piers, you think I don't understand you? Piers, I worked with you for years. I know more about you probably than most people who are watching this program and most people, a lot of the people who are working with you.
Why would
I worked with your staff. I inherited your staff at CNN. I know way more about you than I would care to know. I know way more about how you do business and how you approach journalism than I care to know. I have not been on anyone else's show. I don't want to be on anybody's show. I don't want to do panel shows. I don't want to argue with people about things that are inconsequential. What we should be talking about right now is how to keep what happened to Charlie Kirk from happening to anybody else. That's where the conversation should be. But instead, you're trying to get a moment. You're trying to make some news out of something. But go ahead. Have your fun. But we should be discussing something that is productive to the American people instead of you going into the garbage and trying to find something that will, give you a moment or that you will, get a click out of it or more viewers for your program.
You sound very bitter, Don.
Piers, are you kidding me?
No.
Bitter. I'm the happiest go lucky person ever. I'm just exposing your hypocrisy and how you lied to me about what you wanted to discuss.
I've never talked to you about this interview at all.
Planet.
You don't have conversations with your producers? So your producers lied to me, or you're not that involved?
You've admitted one of the subjects you want to talk to you about.
You're not that involved in the editorial process of your own show, where they don't convey to you
by your own admission
what you are.
You know what, Don?
That the guest
is
what the guest is going to talk about.
You know what, Don?
On the
You
program?
obviously expected
Are you
some.
not that involved in the editorial process of your own show that you don't know that? Piers?
Already admitted that one of the subjects was free speech, and yet here you are getting enraged about me exercising my right to free speech to ask you a few questions.
Piers, I'm not enraged. I'm not enraged at all. I'm glad you got this moment. This is a moment for me as well that's going to play out on social media. It's going to be good for me too. So go for it.
Nothing going to be good.
What moment do you think we've got?
Lemonhead.
That he got you. You got me, Piers.
Come on.
Come on. I don't know what you mean.
Come on, let's do something that's more productive than this.
Well, look, honestly, when you do this, when you say that I'm into journalism, and you do this, or like it's not journalism, you've taken a big high moral ground
Piers,
about. Hang on, I'll ask you a question. Okay, and finally, Don, we started this. Just to be fair, you said you don't like the way that the MAGA crowd have reacted to Charlie Kirk because they're doing it just for clicks and stuff about somebody's death.
Yeah.
And yet,
some of them. I said some of them. Okay. I said some of them, not all of them.
Which ones in particular are you thinking of?
Well, if you go back and watch the Don Lemon show on YouTube, or if you watch Don Lemon on social media, you will find I mentioned certain people, and you can find it there.
So you object to clickbaity headlines about people and death?
Do I object to what?
Clickbaiting headlines about people and death.
Not necessarily. I think that's part of our culture. I think it's part of our culture, and I think it's
is it something you ever do?
It is a byproduct, please, of our siloed media, and I think people perhaps sometimes do it to get attention, whether it's right or whether it's wrong. But sometimes people do it to break through, whether that's right or wrong. It's just simply what it is. That's a matter of fact.
But do you ever do it?
I don't think I do it to. Any more so than anyone else. I don't think I do it any more so than the Piers Morgan show or any other show that is based on YouTube.
I'm only curious because 2 weeks ago, you had a headline.
You have to do something
2 weeks ago.
I'm not done talking yet, Piers. I'm not done talking yet, Piers. I didn't finish my statement. I say sometimes you have to do things to get people's attention so that they can click on something and to see if it is important or not, and they can make up their own decision about if they want to continue on with the content.
Got it. No, I got it. That's the whole point of clickbait. Yeah. You had a headline 2 weeks ago. Hot takes. Could Donald Trump be dying?
Yeah, a lot of folks did. I think you probably did a show on that as well.
No, I didn't.
And because people were asking, if you look at even in some of the mainstream media, people were asking. Donald Trump's administration was not transparent about how sick he was during COVID, and so what leads people to believe that Donald Trump's administration is going to be transparent about what's happening with him now? Right,
You know what,
especially
Don?
Americans to
He
know
wasn't dying.
the health of their president.
He wasn't dying. You knew he wasn't dying. He's obviously not dying, and you were doing it for clickbait, which is the very thing
I
you
didn't say
accused
he was dying.
everybody
I said,
else of
could
doing.
Donald Trump be dying because people are asking if he's dying? That's
Got it. Got it.
I don't see that there's anything wrong with that.
Nope. Don Lemon, thank you very much.
Do you?
You're a weirdo.
Yeah, we've run out of time, Don. You know what it's like in the news business.
Oh, that was so good. I did not expect that. I just turned it on.
Yeah, that was good as shit. It seemed like it was pretty old too, but as long as they was getting it Don Lemon, I ain't. That shit was popping. Yeah, let's get into something else. I got something going on right now. They say West Coast News. They caught the Olympian. He was an Olympian. And he turned into a drug trafficker. Cash Patel tracked him down.
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So,
but there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
Okay, but listen, we live in there's a Constitution and the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
3 days later. What does the law say about protesting in a church like this?
Yeah, the law says that these protesters are in trouble. There's a federal statute called FACE, F-A-C-E, that says if you interfere or physically obstruct another person's First Amendment right to exercise their freedom of practicing their religion, it is a federal crime.
So let's check in again on Mr. Don Lemon, because it looks like Don Lemon and his domestic terrorist buddies could be in some trouble here after it turns out that what they did on Sunday in interrupting a Minneapolis church service to protest against ICE was not actually the constitutionally protected free speech protest that Don Lemon was claiming it was in defense. Rather, it may have been a violation of the 1994 FACE Act, aka against the law, Mr. Don Lemon, aka an illegal crime. And this is something I was trying to bring up since the beginning, but we are now even hearing that same opinion from his former employer over at CNN. Gee, that one's awkward, but guess what? This is the exact network that Don Lemon, while he was working there, constantly defended as true journalism. We're not spreading misinformation. These are the trusted sources. Okay, so please tell me why, Mr. Don Lemon, even the legal expert contributors over at CNN are bringing up the same exact opinion of me. Actually, in the United States of America, contrary to your brain-dead, backward, and delusional understanding of the First Amendment, you do not actually have a First Amendment right to interfere with other people's First Amendment rights to worship and practice their own religion in peace. And yes, that includes white Christians here, Don Lemon. But nonetheless, I want to bring you this full chronicle here today because on one hand, we have Don Lemon still refusing to acknowledge the potential criminality. He continues to just spread blatant misinformation. Hey, you like that word, Don Lemon? And lies that all of this, right, is just totally normal First Amendment behavior, and is even now doubling down, trying to slander the church and their pastor as, quote, entitled white supremacists simply for kicking out the angry and potentially violent agitators for the sake of their own congregation, right? So, you storm into someone else's church, you cause a ruckus, you start shouting, you cause a scene. You're not entitled, but the moment that the private establishment says, hey, you're trespassing, this is not legal, please get out. Oh, you're entitled, you're a white supremacist, how dare you kick us off the premise? But again, contrast that with what the actual legal experts, again, ironically here, over at CNN are saying about the behavior that their former employee here seems to think is completely constitutional and legal and okay. So let's get into all of that, guys. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We greatly appreciate it. And by the way, if you're not super familiar with this whole chronicle, you can go watch our first video on the entire situation at this Minneapolis church. But basically, to make a long story short, just this Sunday, a organized, potentially paid mob of left-wing agitators stormed into this church that they claimed were helping or cooperating with ICE. Now, to be completely honest with you, seeing the many cases of just misinformation and mistaken identities that this left-wing mob running Minneapolis has engaged in, I really have to doubt whether that's even true. But nonetheless, here you had this, and here you had, by the way, Don Lemon defending the behavior, saying protest is meant to be disruptive, and this is the First Amendment, and this is free speech. He was harassing the pastor for simply kicking out the protesters, saying, how dare you do that? And it goes on and on, right?
Renee, this is the house of God. Why are you not at Whipple protesting? Why are you not standing up with your Latino and Somali community?
Interrupting worship. That's what these chaos makers are doing. All of this type of behavior is plaguing the Democrat-led city of Minneapolis at this point. A group of angry protesters, heck, let's call them agitators, and when some yell anything other than the protesting, we can call them criminals. They're screaming and chanting profanities in the name of God, actually, they said, to get rid of ICE in the name of Jesus. Renee Good, also something that they were shouting about. She was the woman who was fatally shot by ICE earlier this month after she rammed her car into one of the federal agents. One video appears to show a protester inside that church, calling churchgoers, quote, comfortable white people, while shouting, you have your nice jewelry, but what do you do to stand with your Somali community? We have yet to see either Governor Tim Walz or Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey.
Yeah, so just once again, really quickly, as you see the scenes of these scumbags, I just want to remind everyone, this is what Don Lemon tried to defend as a civil protest, right? Let's not forget, he was giving the pastor a hard time saying, why would you kick these people out? They're just trying to have a civil dialogue with you, right? He actually did this whole song and dance.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave.
As, by the way, you see these protesters. They're getting in people's faces. They're screaming, okay? And by the way, it's kind of hard to have a conversation. You know how you want to ask a question, you want to have a conversation? Come in, sit down, raise your hand, actually talk. They're not talking. They're shouting. When you start shouting inaudibly, it's kind of hard to have a conversation, Mr. Don Lemon. So, I really wonder why the church saw this and said, hey, maybe we should kick these people out. By the way, as well, I think you just heard the admission there, right? Despite initial accusations that this church was working with ICE, that likely was not even true. What did they say? Oh, they're entitled white people, therefore they deserve it because no justice, no peace. In other words, for no other reason, it would appear here, than this church is full of white Christians and we want to disrupt and cause pain for everyone because how dare you not be out protesting against ICE in this very moment. We're going to come in, we're going to shout, we're going to make kids cry, which is a thing that actually happened. And by the way, we're going to have a so-called journalist sit there and defend the entire thing. But before we talk about Don Lemon, I also want to demonstrate to you now, what you saw right here on camera was not alone. It was not simply Don Lemon, okay? We also saw multiple elected Democrat officials in Minneapolis and Minnesota actually come out here and defend not the churchgoers, but the likely illegal actions of these protesters. That even includes Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, who, by the way, I'd like to point out is one of the most corrupt politicians in this country, but still nonetheless, right? If you want to think, oh, the Democrat Party, they don't really have association with this. This is just some crazy band of lunatics. The violent left-wing mob does not represent Democrats as a whole, despite the fact that they're saying, we are Renee Good, despite the rampant celebration, for instance, of the assassination of Charlie Kirk that we saw from liberal voter base members, right? Nope. Here is indeed what the Democrat Party is saying about it. That includes Keith Ellison. That also includes Democrat Congresswoman here, Adila Grivala, however you say that name, and just a lot more. So take a listen. This is now the Democrat Party's response, and guess what? Big surprise. They're doubling down, saying these protesters were doing the right thing.
The protest is fundamental to American society. This country started in a protest, and it's freedom of expression. People have a right to lift up their voices and make their peace, and none of us are immune from the voice of the public. So quite honestly, I think that you got the First Amendment, freedom of religion, and the First Amendment, freedom of expression. And I think that, it's just something you gotta live with in a society.
Oh, really? Is that so? Well, then what was January 6th then, Keith Ellison, right? Because apparently you can even protest on private property. Trespassing is not a crime. Okay. So explain to me, like 99% of the charges and indictments related to January 6th. Oh, but they were trespassing on Capitol grounds. Well, apparently you can trespass on a church. And by the way, a church is actually private property. Is the U.S. Capitol not public property? Is that not owned by the taxpayers? Please explain it. So what was the problem with them walking around inside the U.S. Capitol, huh? Oh, hey, after all, right? The people wanted to make their voice heard. They were angry, and therefore the law doesn't apply to them, right? According to Keith Ellison. These are the same people, by the way, who say that nobody's above the law. And here you have the Attorney General. I want you to keep that in mind, not just some random politician, the top prosecutor in the state of Minnesota, basically admitting out loud that the law does not apply to people he agrees with, right? If you're a liberal protester, okay, you can basically get away with anything. He's not going to force the law because, after all, hey, that's the principle of protest.
Do with whether they're going to focus or investigate you. So I wish in a normal time I would say no. I say this is First Amendment activity. In time like this, it's just really difficult to say because the only one thing is clear. If Trump likes you, you can do no wrong. If he doesn't, he's going to use every weapon he can against you, including our criminal justice system.
Do you believe it was a step too far for protesters to go into a church?
I don't. I think that when they find out that someone that's supposed to be speaking for the community in church is found out to be an ICE, like a federal agent that is running ICE in their communities, they have the right to go in there. Churches have always been an open door. And from my understanding in the videos that I saw, those protesters were not violent in any way.
Yeah, so please put it on the record because I'm sure that Democrats will pretend like this never happened come the November election. But this is the actual official stance of the Democrat Party. They stand 100% with the mob. They're defending not only just their legal right, but even the principle of what they're doing, which in other words means the official mainstream Democrat Party absolutely believe that if you are a white Christian in America, you actually don't have First Amendment protection. Right? Which is to say, you don't have the right to exercise and practice your own religion in peace. And ironically, they seem to no longer believe in the very 1994 FACE Act that we keep on referring to, right? That actually protects the right of both people in abortion clinics, because that was the liberal side of it, but also because of the bipartisan nature of it, right? Of religious centers to actually worship in peace. That law passed by Bill Clinton, signed by the Clinton administration, their people, says that if you enter a house of religious worship, like a church, and obstruct the ability of the congregation to go on, you're acting intimidating, you're harassing people, etc., you are actually violating their First Amendment right? If you're interfering with their ability to worship and practice their own religion, and therefore it is a crime. Apparently, either they don't believe in that anymore, or they don't believe that applies, frankly, to white Christians, right? And those are Democrat lawmakers saying the same thing. Before we get into the reality on this and why they're all wrong, I lastly want to show you what apparently Don Lemon is saying about it, because, initially the excuse he came out with is, I was just a journalist documenting the entire situation. And now that has somehow devolved into him slandering the church congregation here as both entitled and white supremacist, simply for, I guess, not appreciating violent, angry mob storming into the church and screaming things and shutting down the worship and making children cry. I don't really understand, but take a listen.
And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy. And they think that this country was built for them, that it is a Christian country, when actually we left England because we wanted religious freedom. It's religious freedom, but only if you're a Christian and only if you're a white male, pretty much. And so, yeah, I absolutely 100%, but it's an intimidation tactic. And, I said, I don't understand how I've become the face of it when I was a journalist. I do understand that I'm the biggest name there. And I'm also, as I was on with my producers this morning, you and Kylie talk all the time. My producers were saying, I said, how did I become the face of this? And my producer said, Don, you're a gay black man in America.
Yeah, no, sure, totally. I mean, it's definitely because you're a gay black man in America, not because you're defending domestic terrorists and anti-Christian harassment. No, well, the reason why the kids in that freaking congregation crying are really upset is not because these crazy, evil, psychotic-looking lunatics are screaming in their faces. Do you see the gay black man with the camera? That's what they're really scared of. Can you believe it? This is actually how these people think too. Or maybe they don't, right? Race hustling is a thing. I mean, that's probably what's really going on here, but that's how they're encouraging others to think. Yeah. By the way, I love the opinion here. Oh, the reason why they don't want crazy lunatics screaming and making their kids cry is just because they're entitled white supremacists. Actually, definitely, right? The non-white, mostly people, from what I saw in that video, right, who stormed into someone else's church while the pastor is speaking, giving the service, and just start freaking screaming and agitating, doing all this. Those are not the entitled ones. The entitled ones are not the people who think it's okay to come into someone else's property and act that way. No. The entitled ones are the ones who said, please leave. This is our thing. You don't have a right to be here. 100%. No, it's just, the logic here makes so much sense, Don Lemon. And I'm sure, too, by the way, you would be principled about this. I'm sure if a bunch of, let's just say white conservatives stormed into a black church to go protest, I don't know, Ashley Babbitt, you definitely would defend them. You would say that's First Amendment. You definitely wouldn't say, oh, they're committing a hate crime, they're terrorists, they should be thrown in jail, right? Yeah, I'm sure. What an absolute idiot, and by the way, a complete freaking scumbag, okay? It's not white supremacy for white people to say, hey, can we actually be treated the same way every other racial group is treated? For Christians to say, can we be treated the same way in society every other religious group is treated? And the reason I bring that up is because, again, if this was Muslims, if this was Jews, if this was Buddhists, Hindus, any other group for the most part, right? You'd see widespread condemnations by everyone. Maybe if it was a synagogue, Zoran Mamdani wouldn't say too much, but even then, I still think so, to be completely honest with you. It's only Christians, and particularly white conservative Christians, where apparently we live in this two-tiered society where people will just openly defend that and then call you white supremacists for demanding actual equal treatment in this country, because actually, no, Don Lemon, it would not be acceptable for this to even happen at, let's say, a black church. And I know that because I know exactly what you would say about it, right? So just something to keep in mind. But amidst all of that, here is the truth, right? Here is the reality, which is that what they were doing, it's not entitlement. It's not white supremacy to say, actually, this is in violation of federal law. And if you don't want to take my word for it, take a listen to what the legal experts over at Don Lemon's former employer, known as CNN, had to say about the scenes we saw in Minneapolis, because they had a very different opinion, let me just say, from political partisans from the Democrat Party.
What does the law say about protesting in a church like this?
Yeah, the law says that these protesters are in trouble. There's a federal statute called FACE, F-A-C-E, that says if you interfere or physically obstruct another person's First Amendment right to exercise their freedom of practicing their religion, it is a federal crime. Now, had these protesters stood outside the church, been on the sidewalk, been on the street, they likely would have been protected by their First Amendment right to protest. But you're allowed to protest in a public forum, but that right is not absolute. They crossed the line when they went inside a church. And I think of it almost like, a church is public property. Imagine if protesters went inside a hospital to protest Medicaid or health policy and interrupted treatment of patients.
Attorney General Pam Bondi posted on social media and appeared to call this the intimidation of Christians, saying, quote, if state leaders refuse to act responsibly to prevent lawlessness, this Department of Justice will remain mobilized to prosecute federal crimes and ensure that the rule of law prevails. So what is the law the DOJ could use to prosecute these protesters?
Well, interestingly, it could also sort of fall under the civil rights category as well, that the rights of these individuals in the church to practice their religion are being impeded by these protesters. And so the Justice Department could potentially look at whether the activities these individuals are engaging in goes beyond what there would be their protected activities. You know, this all comes in the environment, Pamela, of the court order that was issued by a federal judge in Minnesota last Friday, limiting activities that ICE agents could do with respect to protesters. Justice Department now, it sounds, is coming down with a different way that they want to engage in protection of civil rights, protection of First Amendment activities in particular.
And again, First Amendment activities give protesters the right to make their voices heard, peaceful assembly, right, on public property, but it's different when you get into private property. Right?
It's different on private property. This is their First Amendment right to engage in their religion. The protesters, are allowed to engage in their activity, but yes, private places have an ability to not have that type of activity in their place. And the question that we're coming to is, how is law enforcement going to protect the rights of protesters to engage in their First Amendment protected activity, at the same time not be intimidating other people for whatever rights they are engaged in?
Oh, really? You don't say. Private property is different than public property? Wow. You don't have a First Amendment right to infringe on other people's First Amendment rights? Oh, wow, gee. Now, I didn't go to law school, just to be clear. I'm not a trusted expert, according to Mr. Don Lemon. But who was saying these exact things from the very day that it happened? Yeah. You want to say I'm not a trusted source? Okay, legally speaking, Don Lemon, neither are you, though, right? And according to you, I'm probably just some right-wing misinformationist, right? I'm just like Nick Shirley. I'm a guy in his 20s making YouTube videos. I'm destroying American democracy, blah, 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 blah. You can make all those excuses you want. But there's your former employer and actual people with law degrees saying the same exact thing, Mr. Don Lemon. And it turns out, actually, as a matter of fact, that despite all of your, fake credibility, all the credentialism you practice where I'm a real journalist, I want to combat misinformation, so people are believing all this right-wing fake news propaganda, blah, 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 blah. Actually, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. That's actually the truth, right? You scream about a First Amendment that you don't even fundamentally understand. You've been running around Minneapolis, giving all these people moral lectures about the Constitution when you clearly, on a very basic level, do not even understand what it means or how it works, which is the exact reason why you try to invoke the First Amendment on the church pastor who, being the head of that private property, is in his full First Amendment rights, right? Freedom of association also is included in the Constitution, by the way, to kick out the people he doesn't want to be there, Don Lemon. You know how that works, Don Lemon? And it actually doesn't stop, because even in more recent content, trying to, he thinks he's a lawyer or something, right? Explain how the law works and why the right-wingers are wrong in Minneapolis. He's actually humiliating himself once again. It doesn't just stop on protesting. Take a listen as he doesn't understand the basics of how immigration law actually works, and in himself here, right? Just spreading complete misinformation. Isn't that ironic?
Okay, crossing the border illegally is not a crime?
No, it's not a criminal act. Okay. It's a misdemeanor.
Okay, did you get that? Crossing the border illegally is not a crime. It's a misdemeanor, according to Mr. Don Lemon. And he thinks he's smart for that, right? Here he is educating the right-wingers who think that illegal aliens should be deported because they broke the law. But did you know? They actually didn't break the law. They just committed a misdemeanor. Wow, he's so smart. Just like he understands the First Amendment so well, right? Don Lemon knows everything. Okay, you guys are going to like this. Let's do something actually very fun. Let's Google the definition of a misdemeanor, right? What is that? Because again, right? What did he just say? It's not a crime. It's not a criminal act. It's a misdemeanor. Oh, what's a misdemeanor? A crime less serious than a felony. Oh, so you mean to tell me it's a crime, right? It's a crime. It's a type of crime, yes. Sure. Misdemeanors, yes, they're less than felonies, okay? So usually the jail times for misdemeanors don't involve, the punishment, I should say, for misdemeanors does not involve jail time. Typically, it's more like probation, fines, things like that, which, by the way, I'd like to point out is the same for deportations of illegal aliens, okay? Yeah, you face a punishment. It's still a crime. Now, typically, if someone just overstays their visa or illegally immigrates but commits no other crimes, then yes, the punishment is simply deportation. We don't throw you in jail. That's why it's a misdemeanor, right? But there's still a punishment for the crime, Don Lemon. And by the way, if we really want to just keep going with this, okay, let's Google this as well. I mean, we know the answer, by the way. You should know the answer. But anyways, are misdemeanors, first of all, tried in criminal or civil court? I wonder the answer to this one. No, I do not want to try the AI mode. Oh, misdemeanors are tried in criminal court. Oh, that's very interesting. So what does that mean they are, ladies and gentlemen? What do we try in criminal courts? Crimes. Crimes. Again, this is the guy. This is the guy running around saying that right-wingers are violating the Constitution and they don't understand it and he knows all about the Constitution and law. Misdemeanors are not crimes. Literally, by definition, they are. You absolute brain-dead idiot. It's a type of a crime. It's literally a legal classification for a type of crime. Dingus. All right. But actually, the embarrassment doesn't stop there. So let's keep listening here to Don Lemon try to explain immigration law to us.
Saying that they're breaking the law.
That's the point.
Okay, as somebody that actually,
we don't know if they're breaking the law because they won't tell. There's no due process. Where's the evidence? That's the whole point. And if they are breaking the law, most people will say, okay, then they need to go if they're criminals. But if they're not, why are they being rounded up and sent out? Especially when he promised to deport the criminals.
Okay, again, you just admitted that they've committed a misdemeanor. So they're breaking the law. This is, by the way, the same guy lecturing on due process. Oh, yeah, is that the due process you're talking about? You don't even know what that means. You don't know what due process is. So shut up about it, okay? Yes, there is a due process. There is immigration court, all right? But for you to sit here and say, apparently the take of Don Lemon is that if you simply illegally immigrate into the country, whether that's you overstay a tourist visa, you sneak over the border, you just shouldn't be deported. That's not what the law says, Don Lemon, and that's certainly not what a misdemeanor says.
And now he's not doing that.
yeah, I don't think we're going.
Misdemeanor is not a crime.
Yeah.
So misdemeanor is not
It's
a
not
crime?
a criminal act. No, if you get charged with a misdemeanor, that's not a criminal act.
Charge at all then?
Again, it literally is. Yeah, it's not a felony, sure. It's not a felony. You're right about that, but it is a criminal act.
If it's not a criminal act.
Because we have different levels of crime. Everything is not the same.
So it is crime.
No.
So it is, exact. So it is crime. So it is crime, Don Lemon. It is crime. And it's against the law, okay? Even something like a speeding ticket, okay? You face a punishment for a speeding ticket. Whether that's a warning or a ticket on your record, probation if you get a lot of them. Yeah, you don't go to jail, but you face a punishment for it. Same is true with a visa overstay or hopping over the border. Okay, there is a punishment for it. The punishment's called deportation. This is very simple.
It's just
we
different
have different levels of. I shouldn't say crime, but it's not a crime. You're not breaking the law. I mean, you are breaking the law, but it's not a criminal act.
So it's breaking. What? Wait, did I just hear that right? It's not against the law, but it's wait. What did he say? Let's hear that again. That was amazing.
If you get charged with a misdemeanor, that's not a criminal act.
Charge at all then? If it's not a criminal act.
Because we have different levels of crime. Everything is not the same.
So it is crime.
No,
it's just
we have
different
different levels of. I shouldn't say crime, but it's not a crime. You're not breaking the law. I mean, you are breaking the law, but it's not a criminal act.
It's not a crime. You're not breaking the law. No, I mean you're breaking the law, but it's not a criminal act. What are you even talking about, Donald? This guy thinks he's a lawyer. Yeah, definitely. This guy should get to dictate what due process rights look like in America. I'm sorry, I don't even know what to say. How do you even take this guy seriously? Okay, and again, Don Lemon, I'm going to repeat. The point you're making is true. Yes. People who just overstay a visa or cross the border, we don't throw in prison. Unless they repeatedly do it. In some cases, they actually can come with prison time. But generally speaking, we don't. Just in the same way, if you commit a misdemeanor in this country, usually it's just a fine, it's just probation. Yeah, guess what the typical punishment is for the misdemeanor of illegal immigration? It's called deportation. It's called deportation back to your home country. Pretty straightforward stuff here, Don Lemon.
Breaking the law.
No, you're not breaking the law.
The misdemeanor's not breaking the law.
No.
You're not breaking the law. You're not breaking the law by committing a misdemeanor. Actually, Don Lemon, you are. That's why it's against the law, okay? You break the law if you get caught speeding. Yeah, you're breaking the law, right? You get caught with illicit drugs. You're breaking the law. Yeah, you are. It's against the reason it's a misdemeanor, which is a type of crime in the first place, is because it's against the law. What is this conversation where see Don Lemon doesn't even know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
If you're speeding, drinking, get pulled over, DUI.
That's not a criminal. Well, no. If you're speeding, is a misdemeanor.
It's a misdemeanor. Right. So still breaking the law.
Okay. Well, if you want to qualify that, we're doing semantics. But what I'm saying.
No. We're not doing semantics, Don Lemon. You just said it's not against the law. You said it's not breaking the law. It is breaking the law. What a fucking. Sorry. What a freaking dumb person. Okay.
But what I'm trying to tell you is everything is not the same. It's all not one thing.
But is it the law?
What? Is it the law that what?
Is it a law to come over legally? Is there a law?
There are rules that are processes that you should follow. Yeah, so you're breaking rules. You're breaking the rules, but you're not necessarily breaking a law.
So what happens when you break the rules?
Then you suffer the consequences. But the consequences should not. Look, no one is saying no one should suffer the consequences. You guys are getting things mixed up.
No, I think you're the one getting things mixed up here, Don Lemon. Oh, breaking the law. It's not just semantics. Oh, it's just semantics, he says. Okay, let's see. Should we Google again? No, it's not just a rule. It's a law. It's federal law, particularly Federal Law 8 U.S. Code 1325, which clarifies the illegality and punishments for improper entry by an alien into the United States. For first-time illegal entry, that is classified, so the first time, right, you illegal immigrate, that is classified as a misdemeanor under 8 U.S. Code 1325. So yes, Don Lemon is correct about that. But guess what? It can result in a fine up to 6 months in jail. Why jail? Because again, yes, it's a misdemeanor, but what is that? A criminal misdemeanor, right? Or both. And by the way, re-entering, which many of them, by the way, have done, re-entering after being deported is a felony, which can carry prison sentences themselves. Now, in the case of a visa overstay, maybe he wants to make this excuse. Okay, staying in the U.S. after a legal visa expires is a civil violation, not a crime. But it can still lead to deportation and future travel bans, right? Which means whether you're being tried under even the civil or the criminal case of this, if you're not legally in the country, you are subject to deportation, right? Customs and Border Patrol can arrest and detain individuals who cross or enter or stay in the United States without authorization, and they do face removal proceedings, their so-called due process, okay? But why should we be surprised? Why should we be surprised? This guy is going to go up to other people and have this conversation and debate over immigration law, claiming he's so smart, and have no clue what he's talking about. Because again, this is the same exact character who tried to defend that crowd, that the group of agitators in Minneapolis, as having been acting in free speech and practicing their First Amendment right. So very typical, right? Very typical stuff. But anyways, that said, guys, there you essentially have it. There's Don Lemon. We'll see whether he personally faces any consequences over his behavior in the church. I don't know. I'm guessing he's going to use his excuse, oh, I'm a journalist. But nonetheless, okay, just remember, the people trying to lecture you on the law, the First Amendment, the Constitution, blah, blah, blah. This is how poor their understanding of that stuff actually is.
Basically. So don't listen to Don Lemonhead or none of them other Democratic butt busters. Listen to your boy Dabrand knows, because I know. I'm going to give y'all one more before I go. Check it out.
right, y'all, we are back.
All right, y'all.
Right, y'all, we are back with another video. I definitely had to bring y'all this. Now, Pam Bundy pretty much said that she is still coming after Don Lemon after we just found out that a leftist judge is pretty much, at this moment, at the recording of this video, is blocking President Trump and Pam Bundy from arresting Don Lemon because he would have got arrested too. So they got most of the he would have got arrested too. So they got most of the other ones that stormed the church. And now Don Lemon pretty much coming out talking about he ain't scared to be arrested. Ain't nothing going to happen to him. And he's only saying that because a leftist judge just pretty much stopped President Trump from making the arrest on Don Lemon. But that ain't the only story. We got another story is now the left-wing media is running around talking about that ICE had detained a 5-year-old kid. I mean, all these people do is lie, and I tell y'all this all the time. They trying to deflect from the fact of all the fraud that was just found in Minnesota. So now they run into the fact that ICE detained a 5-year-old kid, which that right there was not the case. They didn't detain him. They was going after the kid's father, and the father ran on foot. Pretty much, they said left the kid in a running car. So ICE supposed to be just left the 5-year-old kid in the car by itself in the cold. So ICE, of course, got the kid. They won't go just leave him there while his father then ran and abandoned the vehicle. But now you got the fake news running around talking about ICE detained the kid, trying to make people mad. Like that right there is freaking insane. But we got updates on that. So please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Shout out to everybody showing so much support. And shout out to the one that always watches the entire video. I appreciate all of you. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive straight into this. We're going to start off with what Pam Bundy said about Don Lemon. Then we're going to get into the story about them lying about the 5-year-old kid. So make sure you stay to the end because I don't want you to miss out on this. So you can see right here, it's a breaking. AG Pam Bundy says she's coming after Don Lemon after he stormed a Minnesota church and thinks he'll get away with it. Check out what she said.
His commentary, obviously in support of them. Does the fact that he claims to be an independent journalist, does that factor into the law at all?
Well, he's an online agitator. That's what he is now. And sure, if you're a journalist and you're covering a story, that's not what he was doing.
Exactly. That's definitely not what he was doing. Let's get to this part right here because this is where it was the video is a little bit more longer.
We're going to prosecute you, Sean.
Okay. Don Lemon was an opinion host at CNN, but he, even as an opinion host, is a member of the press. Fair enough. You could see he's kind of celebrating. He's obviously in agreement with the protests. There was video evidence of him giving out coffee and donuts and celebrating with them and so on and so forth. His commentary, obviously in support of them. Does the fact that he claims to be an independent journalist, does that factor into the law at all?
Well, he's an online agitator. That's what he is now. And sure, if you're a journalist and you're covering a story, that's not what he was doing. We all know that. We have the video. It speaks for itself. He was in there with all these other people. If you were in there, if you protested and went into that church on the Sunday and you terrorized the parishioners, we are coming after you. That pastor is a wonderful man. I met with that pastor. Sean, these people were staged sitting in the church as well. Then they burst in through all doors, including Don Lemon, and started harassing and antagonizing and terrorizing these parishioners. A woman ran out the back door, scared to death, and broke her arm. We are coming after you if you participated in that. I don't care who you are. If you're a failed CNN journalist, you have no right to do that in this country. We don't live in a third world country. We're going to protect our houses of worship in this country.
Last question. First of all, congratulations.
And salute to Pam Bundy. So she pretty much said, hey, she's coming after Don Lemon. So now he's trying to hide behind this judge who pretty much done stopped Pam Bundy them from arresting him, because if it wasn't for that, he'd have been arrested. So now he's trying to use this leftist judge, but they said they going to pretty much find other ways to go out the Don Lemon. And let's check out this video right here. So DHS just said the Trump DOJ is exploring other ways to criminally charge and arrest Don Lemon after a magistrate judge linked to AG Keith Ellison shielded him. So that's what it is. So it's a judge that's in Keith Ellison's circle that pretty much is helping Don Lemon.
Can you give us any update on Don Lemon? We hear that Keith Ellison, as the wife of the judge that wouldn't sign off, worked for Keith Ellison, that Keith Ellison's name keeps coming up as being so deeply involved in so much of the fraud and so much of the obstruction there. We do know that he is committed Marxists. He does promote Antifa. He's one of the most single radical, perhaps, members of the Democrat Party that exists in office today. What will happen with Don Lemon?
Well, Homeland Security is going to enforce the law without fear or favor, whether you be a journalist or self-proclaimed journalist, or you just be another one of those rioters in St. Paul. We will make sure that justice is brought. So I'm not going to get ahead of the Department of Justice, but I know that they're looking at different options here.
They're looking at different options to go after Don Lemon. So now he can sit around, he can laugh, he can say whatever he wants, because right now he's just enjoying himself. Oh, they ain't going to do nothing. If you're going to arrest me, come and arrest me then. So, like I said, that's what he said. So right now he think it's all over, but it's not. So let's move to this right here about them lying about ICE detaining a 5-year-old kid. Of course, me personally, I'm going to like blur out the kid's face. I don't like to, put, in the kid's face, like, on the screen like that. So let's check out J.D. Vance pretty much speaking on this situation about how the fake news is pretty much lying, talking about ICE then detained a 5-year-old kid.
The fact that we're standing behind law enforcement, and I'm proud of the fact that we're enforcing the country's laws. But, you asked a question about this 5-year-old kid. I actually saw this terrible story while I was coming to Minneapolis. We just left Toledo, Ohio this morning for an economic messaging event. And I see this story, and I'm a father of a 5-year-old, actually, a 5-year-old little boy. And I think to myself, oh my God, this is terrible. How did we arrest a 5-year-old? Well, I do a little bit more follow-up research. And what I find is that the 5-year-old was not arrested, that his dad was an illegal alien. And then when they went to arrest his illegal alien father, the father ran. So the story is that ICE detained a 5-year-old. Well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death?
See, that's right there would have been another story about it, the fake media. You know what they would have said? So if ICE would have left the boy right there, they were like, man, look what ICE just did. They went after his dad and left a 5-year-old kid to die. Oh, they just left a 5-year-old kid in a running car. Anything could have happened. That's what they would have. That's exactly what they would have said. And now that they got the kid, they can't just leave a 5-year-old kid there. They're not going to do that. So that they got the kid and try to get him somewhere warm and just get him out their car and not leave him by himself. Now they saying that ICE detained a 5-year-old kid. That is ridiculous, man. That is ridiculous that they just running with that like that. That is just crazy. My goodness, man. So even right here it said by Sarah Rose, the 5-year-old boy, the left are lying about saying ICE detained in Minnesota because his father fled and abandoned him in the freezing cold, tried taking him to his mom, and she didn't want him. Think about this. They said that ICE tried taking the kid to the mom, and the mom did not want the kid. So what do ICE supposed to do? What do they supposed to do? Now that they took the child to the mom, because the dad ran on foot, and he just left the kid in the car, and they tried to take the kid to the mom, and the mom said, I don't want him. And now they want to use that and say that ICE detained him, or ICE arrested a 5-year-old kid, and this is what the left running with. And we'll show y'all some clips in just a second. So it said that the 5-year-old boy, the left are lying about saying ICE detained in Minnesota because his father fled and abandoned him in the freezing cold, tried taking him to his mom, and she didn't want him. So ICE took him to McDonald's and tried to comfort him. So let's check out her saying this.
And this is a horrific smear that we're seeing the mainstream media and politicians on the left, including Kamala Harris, take and run with. The facts are actually that this little boy was abandoned by his own father. His own father was being approached by ICE agents when he darted ran and abandoned the child. Our law enforcement, in these frigid temperatures, stayed with the child, tried to bring him into custody with the mother, who actually would not take the child into custody, which is so sad, so horrific. Our law enforcement officers actually were taking care of the child, brought him to McDonald's, were playing his favorite music to really calm him down. This is Asmark. There's major riots.
And I seen the video. They definitely took the kid to McDonald's. But yet the left is, let's just say that they arrested a 5-year-old kid. Let's just say that they detained a 5-year-old kid because they want to make people mad with lies.
Forming around our law enforcement officers. That is horrendous that the child is having to face this, but our law enforcement officers were taking care of him, and he's now reunited with his father in a federal processing facility.
So exactly, let me just show y'all this really quick, because like I said, this is what they just running with right now. So let me scroll down here. Look at this right here by AOC. Liz on TikTok say AOC repeats the ICE kidnapped a 5-year-old kid hoax. Look at this. This is what they running with.
ICE should be abolished, but there are many in your party who are not going that far. Is that a problem for you?
I think any step in the direction of reining in and cutting the funding of an agency that is attacking U.S. citizens.
Oh my
that
God.
Are kidnapping
They ain't, here she go with this kidnapping stuff.
5-year-olds.
Look at it, kidnapping 5-year-olds. This is ridiculous, man. They know what the real story is. But they want to run with this just to try to make President Trump and his administration look bad.
U.S. citizens that are kidnapping 5-year-olds, that are using them as bait, doors, and that are privately circulating that they can violate everyday Americans' constitutional rights by busting into their doors. They deserve to be defunded. I'll take any.
Look at this woman. Look at that. Just listen to this is what they running with. So now she's saying that they are arresting U.S. They ain't arresting no U.S. They are arresting illegal aliens who is in this country illegally, and some that got heinous crimes that I don't want to mention on here. And she knows that, but she want to lie and say that they are arresting U.S. citizens when they're not. This is crazy. So it gets even worse. Listen to this woman right here. Look at this. This week in Minnesota, ICE detained a 5-year-old boy, 5 years old. I can't even believe this is America. This is the lie they're running with. Listen to this woman.
So now ICE is using a 5-year-old boy. A 5-year-old boy. They took him and used him to lure his father out. And now they've detained them both. The family doesn't know where they are. This is the worst of the damn worst. This is not humanity in Minnesota, folks. If you can look at this.
Ain't it funny that they saying this, even though this right here is a bald-faced lie, they went towards the car to get the illegal alien. They trying to say that ICE just grabbed the 5-year-old boy just to lure out the father, which is a lie. They said it was going towards the car. This guy jumped out of the car and ran on foot and left the kid, and they want to say that ICE, like I said, somehow grabbed the kid and using the kid to lure out the parent. That is a freaking lie. And it's so funny to me that they talking about this, but where was all of this if they talking about 5-year-old kid? What about like Lake and Ryder? Look what happened to Lake and Ryder them. Why didn't they make these type of videos then? When Kamala Harris and Joe Biden was in the office and these illegal aliens was out here, kidnapping and taking out like girls and all type of these young girls and stuff. Where was the Democrats? I didn't hear them say anything. A lot of them didn't even want to stand for Lake and Riley or any of the other ones that lost their life due to illegal aliens. None of them didn't even want to stand. And then they sit up here lying, talking about ICE done detained a 5-year-old kid. Oh my Jesus, man.
This 5-year-old, and actually with a straight face, still support and be silent in the face of what the Trump administration and Kristi Noem is doing. I just can't even believe this is America. I will not vote for a damn penny to Kristi Noem or ICE in this Congress. This is a time where we should all be outraged. If this doesn't pierce through your humanity as a Republican member of Congress, you can't speak out about this, then you've got no humanity left.
Oh, do you have no humanity left? They can't speak out about this, about a lie that y'all put together saying that ICE detained a 5-year-old kid, which is a lie. So, ma'am, while you looking like this, where was your little video at when these illegal aliens was busting in people's houses, kidnapping girls and stuff like that, and taking. Where was your video at then? I didn't hear you say anything. You didn't care. You didn't stand when President Trump was talking about all of this. Y'all see the difference of how they acting? They want to pick and choose and then sit up here and lie. This is crazy. This is crazy. So I want y'all to check this out right here. By Red Wave Press. It's a ICE Assistant Director Marcos Charles just destroyed the fake news narrative. ICE did not detain a 5-year-old child. The illegal alien father fled on foot from authorities, abandoning his kid alone in a running car. After arresting the child's father, my officers stayed with the child. They cared for him, took him to get something to eat from a drive-through restaurant, and spent hours ensuring he was taken care of. Again, my officers did that, not his father. So check this out.
While other officers apprehended his father. After conducting the arrest, my officers stayed with the child. They cared for him, took him to get something to eat from a drive-through restaurant, and spent hours ensuring he was taken care of. Again, my officers did that, not his father. My officers did everything they could to reunite him with his family. Tragically, when we approached the door of his residence, the people inside refused to take him in and open the door. Let me say it again. They saw the young boy and they refused to open the door and take him back. This is the human side of the job that my officers do. They are family men and women. They have children of their own. They sacrifice everything for their families. I know for a fact that they were heartbroken to see the child's own family leave him behind.
And then you got Democrats talking about that ICE detained him, but yet they took him to his house where his people at, and they wouldn't even open the door to get him. They said they took him to his mom. She said she didn't want him. And so now they want to use ICE detained him. ICE arrested a 5-year-old boy.
Fortunately, Conejo Arias eventually requested that his child stay with him. We do everything in our power not to separate families. So they took him back together to Minneapolis, here to the city, to the ICE facility for processing. And now they are being well cared for at a family residential center, pending their immigration proceedings. This is the real face of ICE, ERO, Border Patrol, and our allied partners. The media doesn't know our officers, we do.
Exactly. So the last thing I want to show y'all, this is just another woman that they use, and it's just funny that these people just coming out, ICE didn't get at me. ICE is this. ICE is doing this. Look at this. 23-year-old Nashra Ahmad says being Somali and American is like bananas and rice. Bananas and rice don't even go together. What is she talking about? Bananas and rice? Who eat bananas and rice together? As she claims she survived being kidnapped by ICE. My God, dude.
And I am proud. I am proud to say that I've survived ICE. I'm proud to say that I stood up for what is right. And many people are saying, including my family and friends, that I will go down in history. And I will carry this on my shoulders. Here I am, speaking in front of everyone, and there's cameras recording me. Hi, everyone who's watching me right now. I'm Somali. I'm proud to be Somali. To me, being Somali isn't just eating bananas with rice. It's a lot. It's like,
who eat bananas with rice? Somebody in the comments say, let me know, do you eat bananas with rice? I've never heard nobody even put bananas and rice together a day in my life. Bananas and rice? Oh my God, that don't go together. That is disgusting. If you eat banana with rice, I mean, you can eat what you want, but bananas and rice?
it's an interesting thing. It's very hard to describe what it means to be Somali and what it means to be American, but it's like a cultural fusion. It's kind of like the bananas and rice. You know, people don't really see, like, you know, it's you know, people don't think, oh, you can eat bananas with rice, but that's what
She went to talking about she survived being kidnapped by ICE to eating bananas and rice.
it's like to be Somali and American. It's like that combination of banana and rice, but you're gonna get what I mean.
I know I don't.
What I'm trying to say is
Pause, because bananas
people
and rice.
people might be confused by me being Somali, but then when they hear my like voice, they say, this girl is very American. There's something American about her. So like my family says, you're so American. You're so American. There's something American about you. But then when other people see me, they're like, there's something Somali about you. You're really Somali, you know? So that's what it's like. You know, people always trying to assume what you are, but they know you're both. So they cannot separate the two. They just want to say, oh, you're this, you're that. But that's what it is. It's to be both. So, yeah, so
I'm done listening to you. But like I said, y'all let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section. This woman went to talking about she being kidnapped by ICE to eating bananas and rice for the next 2 minutes. Like,
pause, because we about to get up out of here. At the end of the day, that young lady said that ICE beat her up, put that big knot on her head. She had a patch. You ain't really see no wound, but if you go to my page, scroll up a little bit, you'll see the video footage of the actual arrest when they put her in handcuffs and drug her off. There was no beating. They just simply put her in handcuffs, sat her in the car. If you listen to her story, she was roughed up, dragged, beat down, ran through the mill, and all of the above. Me personally, man, I'm sick of it, man. Because by them stealing, the government's stealing from us to give to them. That's deep. Deeper than that even. A little bit deeper than that. But anyway, hope you learned something. If you didn't, there's always another opportunity tomorrow. Peace out.